Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the NERDWatch podcast. I, of course, am G Money here on another lovely Tuesday evening right here in the heart of Wailuku Town on the beautiful island of Maui in the great state of Hawaii. And we are here tonight to talk about a couple of things. Number one, comic books. Number two, some interesting stories regarding what's going on in the NERDWatch or in the nerd culture universe. And, of course, our spoiler-full review of Black Widow. That is coming up as well. Anyway, let me introduce my crew so we can get started, because I'll tell everybody how the order of the show is going to go here in just a mere moments. But first of all, let me introduce the crew. Joining us first, he is the producer, Seducer. He's also the man who loves them hot and sexy robots from outer space. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to Kai. He's in the house.
Hello.
Kai's here. So exciting.
Hey, G.
Yes.
Shut up.
Thanks. Also, joining us this evening, this next gentleman, he is our man in black. He also does magic in the cover of darkness with birds and cards. And he is also our gaming guru. So, ladies and gentlemen, please say hello, everybody, to Phormat, who's in the house.
Hey, everybody.
Also,
hope everyone's doing great.
Yeah. All right, I guess. Also,
I wasn't asking you.
Oh, you weren't asking me. Oh, I thought you were asking me. Also, joining us this evening, he is the comic book artist extraordinaire. He is the creator of Disco Thunder Groovebone, Mohawk Thunder, and of course the Milkman always delivers. He is the man who is also responsible for his perennial work in the Kukui Project. He is our Hawaiian salted Superman. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody say hello to Todd Bernardi.
I don't know what Alika's doing.
How's it going, Todd?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
I'm just happy to be here, Greg. I'm glad that you're doing good.
Good. Nice to hear.
And I'd like to say a hello to all of our listeners out there. Thanks for listening. Welcome to the show. It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. And, of course, also this evening, boys and girls, he is our Dark Knight. He's also the man who flies around Maui County in a cape, a cowl, and a utility belt, fighting crime for the good of the county. He is also our punk rock superstar. He is also our horror aficionado. Some of you know him as the man who drives a RoboCop helmet. That's his own words. He is also the man that we like to call Hero. Please show a little reference. For tonight, he shall be called Dick Nose Fogelstein, but he is our Gannon. How's it going, Gannon? Man, so nice of you to be here.
The energy in the room is just electric.
It's electric.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's absolutely electric.
I thought my mic was muted, so that's why.
No. You're totally unmuted, sir. You're totally unmuted.
You didn't show me that you unmuted it.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. You're good. All right, and of course, last but certainly not least, unsurprisingly, he's not in his chair, but he is the godfather of comic books. He is the chairman of the comic book board. He's also the sinister minister of Maui Comic-Con and the self-proclaimed comic master. He is freaky. Yeah, he is steaky. He's definitely leaky, and his bibbities can be quite streaky. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to Dr. Freaky Daddy Leaky. It's Alika!
Crickets.
I think we should have a new rule that we don't get introed if we're not on camera.
Oh, is that okay? Wait, it's Alika!
He's still not there.
No, still not there.
No.
Did you see he said he was going to be right back.
Oh, he is? He's going to be right back?
Only we know that. Nobody's actually listening that knows that.
Yeah.
He's got to go meet somebody about a thing.
Hey, try it again. Try it again.
Okay.
Maybe he'll show up now.
All right, let me try this again.
Whoa, wait. Maybe it's like Candyman. Maybe you have to say his name 5 times.
Okay, one more time. Alika!
Anything? Nothing?
Are you there?
All right, one more time. He is the chairman of the comic book board. He is the godfather of comic books, and he is the self-book. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do it again.
Oh, man. With you reading it a second time, it's almost as long as Gannon's intro.
I know.
This is probably not the nicest way to say this, but like, what if somebody in like a Michael Myers mask just walked on a camera with a knife?
Oh, that'd be so sweet and creepy.
I mean, I don't know if "sweet's" the right word, but how crazy would that be?
That
Like,
would be very crazy.
joke
And he
about
just looks,
something, he's
and he
dead
looks
right
into the
now.
camera, and he looks right into the camera. Oh yeah, that'd be freaky deaky.
I'm like, oh, great. We're all
Anyway,
dead now.
yeah,
I
we're
feel like
all
I should
dead
have
now.
said that because I can totally do that next time.
Of
Hey,
course,
where'd
guys.
Gannon go?
Yeah, do that. Anyway, thanks for listening to us, guys. We're simulcasting on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. It is facebook.com/NerdWatch, on YouTube at NerdWatch Nation, and on Twitch at NerdWatch808.
Simulcasting? Is that a word?
Simulcasting. That is an absolute word.
Nice.
Because
Not
of
really
that, because we're simulcasting, you guys can comment, and we'll see every single comment from every single platform. Of course, make sure that you guys get down the like our stuff if you can. Smash that like button on any one of those platforms. Follow us on any of those platforms.
That's
as well.
terrible encouragement. People are going to break their phones over that.
That's true. They're gonna smash it. Yeah. All of our social medias are at the bottom there, at the bottom ticker. So make sure you guys take a
crap,
gander at that as well. I know it's crazy. This is
A terrible show.
No, the
He's not
NerdWatch
wrong.
News Network. Yeah, well, he's not wrong. It's
NerdWatch News Network or NerdWatch News NWN.
Oh, NW. Oh, I like that even better.
Yeah.
I like that.
We used to be NWA, but now we're in NWN.
NWN. Or our gaming channel is going to be called on Twitch NWO, NerdWatch Order. I like that as well.
It's cute. I think you're funny.
No.
The hell's wrong with that?
It's
the hell's
normal.
wrong with you guys?
Wah, wah.
Whatever. Anyway, we were gonna
Greg.
Yes, sir.
Stick to what you're good at. that is.
Well, whatever that is, I still don't know. Todd, I know that Alika is not here. Maybe he can pick up the slack once he does get here. Do you have a list of comics so we can go over that really quick, or you don't want to?
I mean, I don't want to steal Alika's thunder. He said he was going to do it when he gets back. So,
Oh, is he gonna do it?
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
All right. So,
It's going to do it.
All right. Well, like I said, here's the setup for tonight. Just so everybody knows, and everybody watching and or listening, of course, we are going to be talking about Black Widow. We're going to be talking about that's going to be the very last thing we talk about tonight. We're going to be talking about, of course, most of this stuff we're going to kind of graze over because the majority of it's going to be about Black Widow. We got the comic book list. We also have the latest episode of Loki to talk about as well, and a couple of interesting pieces of news for all you nerd culture fans that we'll talk about as well. So that is coming up very shortly. The last thing we're going to talk about is Black Widow. I cannot wait. I think everybody has seen it so far that I have spoken with, including Todd Bernardi, if you can believe that. So I'm very excited to talk to Todd. Yeah, very excited to talk to Todd about this.
are you?
Yeah, super excited.
Are you a masochist or something?
I kind of, but I really want to hear what Todd is.
Hey, you know what, Gannon? What if I liked it?
I would ask for where. I would ask to see those Disney checks.
Yeah, that silence is deafening. Yeah, I want to hear what you have to say. You know what? He may be right. Maybe Todd liked it. It's a possibility for sure. Anyway,
maybe Good Charlotte's great.
First of all, Good Charlotte's going to be in the Rock and
Oh
Roll
my
Hall of
God.
Fame someday.
Someday. Someday people will notice them.
After
That's
they let
correct.
everybody else in.
That's right. Right. Absolutely. That's how it works, right?
Hey,
One
day
maybe
it'll be great.
better
It's
than
not in
Ezra.
the name.
Really was better than Ezra.
Ew. Aren't the Google dolls in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame already?
I don't think so.
Oh, they're not.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. They might be.
If they are, it has nothing. Then it has everything to do with their City of Angels soundtrack.
Speaking of, great soundtrack, by the way.
Is it?
No, I was just kidding. I will say that A&E has been killing it with the biographies lately. I watched the 2-part, just a really quick aside, I watched a 2-part Kiss documentary called Kisstory. It was fantastic. So even if you don't like Kiss, you don't like their music, it's still a great documentary. So I highly recommend it.
Haven't there been like several documentaries on those guys?
This one is incredibly comprehensive, and it lines out everything from band members, and they literally go over each album. And
wait. Now, did they produce this documentary?
That is correct. So they were involved. They even asked Peter.
It's a very skewed documentary that paints them in a great light.
No, that's the thing. It actually doesn't. That's what's amazing about it. I find that
hard to believe.
That's why I say you need to watch it, because what's fascinating about it is that they actually are very much down the line with it. And what's fascinating to me is how good the documentary is and how honest they actually were about what was going on and what had happened. I mean, they go through each and every band member. They talk about what happened with Peter Criss and Ace Frehley, and it's incredible.
And the other guy?
No, there was like
about how they have session players still carry Peter Criss and what's his name and Ace Frehley's likenesses, even though they're not in the band anymore.
First of all, they don't own the copyright to that face mask or that mask.
Okay, fine, but Axl didn't have somebody stand there with a top hat and a slash wig.
First of all, it's just makeup, number one, but number two, I'm telling you right now, they even go over that, which I find fascinating. They even go over the face paint and the makeup.
It's all gimmicks at the end of the day, sure.
They didn't, just to let you know,
everything to those guys in that makeup. I don't think it's right.
They don't.
Whether they own it or not.
They didn't produce it, but I'm telling you right now, it is a 3.5 hour documentary. It's incredibly extensive, and I love the fact that they go over each album, which is really super cool.
Did you in real time just look that up? Because you said earlier that they did produce it, but then you also now just said that they. No,
I said A&E produced it. They were. What I meant was they were a part of it. They literally, yeah.
When I was asking, I thought you said they did produce.
Oh, no. This was A&E that produced it. It was. They were a part of it. Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley and the current members of
the other guy.
And you get to know the other guys, which is interesting, and you get to know what they were doing, and which is really fascinating. But anyway, I digress.
Nobody knows that.
How dare you? You will after this documentary. Number one, the other guy is Chris Singer. So that's he's the drummer.
I don't trust you because I can see your hands off screen.
I am telling you right now, it's a great documentary. But anyway, that's that. I've tried my best to extend time for Alika to come back, and he still hasn't come back.
I feel like he looks up, like he Google searches, what's the worst documentary ever? And then he brings it on and talks it up, so we're forced to watch it.
Hey, it's not. Drew in the chat brings up a couple of the other members, Vinnie Vincent and Eric Carr. They also were mentioned in the documentary as well. Eric Carr didn't know this. He ended up passing away from a tumor, which is crazy.
It's not a tumor.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No, in his case, it was.
Oh,
yeah, it really was a tumor. So it's a very enlightening documentary about Kiss and their career. They even talk about Kiss and the Phantom of the Park, which is a lot of fun. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Did they talk about that Marvel comic book that they put their blood in?
Yes. They actually talk about
the most done to death story of Kiss.
They actually talk about the merchandising and how Ace Frehley especially didn't think that was rock and roll. And so
it's not. It's not really.
But what's interesting is once you watch the doc, you'll kind of understand where both sides were coming from, Gene and Paul, and of course Ace and Chris, which is fascinating. Even though Ace and Chris don't take part in this, there's interviews with them from earlier that they actually go back to, which is pretty sweet, which is fascinating. So like I said, it's great.
I mean, Gene Simmons has always been businessman first.
Oh yeah,
second.
100%.
I mean, if you've seen his office, it's just nothing but wall-to-wall Kiss merchandise. So obviously there's a lot of ego there. There's a lot of self-importance there.
He even makes that incredibly clear in the doc. He even says that.
Also, he keeps it real in the sense of like he understands their position in the music world now, whereas bands at their level that have been around that long, that have been that big, there's almost no point in writing new music, put out new records, because nobody wants to hear the new stuff. When they go see a band that's been around that long, they just want to see them play the hits. So that's why they don't really even bother with it. Like, they don't scratch that itch. They might do music outside of Kiss to kind of scratch that itch, but there's almost no point in making new music because nobody really wants it.
That's the crazy thing. They even go over, like, they were wanted to break up, but before they broke up, they did singles. Everybody did a solo album under the Kiss name, and that was pretty sweet too. They even talked about that, which I thought was crazy. And
I remember that.
I didn't remember that. I didn't remember that. So I was fascinated with it, and there was my favorite album from Kiss is the one that they hate the most. My favorite album from Kiss is The Elder. I like The Elder. I think The Elder's a great album from them. It's different, and that's why I like it so much. And they even talk about that.
I thought you were going to say the one that has the single from the Bill and Ted 2 soundtrack.
No, not even close. Not even close. And by the way,
God gave rock and roll to you. That's the song.
I will give you one. That's funny you say that, because I was going to say that there's one cool thing that they talk about the Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey that they did. They sang "God gave rock and roll to you." Eric Carr was so intent on doing it that he literally convinced him for him to do the video and to sing it, and that was the last thing he did with the band before he passed away. It was crazy. So
he passed out back then. He passed out. He passed away back then.
Yeah. 1990, yeah, and that right there, and that's crazy because that's the last thing they did with him, and that's when he passed away. Drew in the chat says Lou Reed wrote some songs on the Ender. Yes, he did, and I didn't know that. That's pretty sweet. So I'm actually kind of a nerd for the Elder.
Wrote some songs on my record too, so that's not that big a deal.
Shut your mouth. That's terrible.
All I know is that there's more and more names that need to be blamed for.
I'm telling you, this 3.5 hour documentary is very informative, very entertaining, and incredibly moving as far as the journey that they have been on. And Annie did a great job in producing it. So very good stuff. Anyway,
I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, Greg.
Oh, I did.
Lou Reed wrote a Crisscross song, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did they do it? Was it Jump?
It wasn't Jump, but he wrote their other hit, whatever that one was.
I Missed the Bus.
I Missed the Bus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lou Reed helped them write that song.
I missed the bus. So stupid. I missed the bus.
We're gonna do it.
He also produced the Rush Hour 3 soundtrack.
Did he now?
Oh man, that all comes.
That's
wow.
Not as prolific as you think. He
didn't know that.
He takes a
He
paycheck.
did a lot of stuff, man.
Hey, listen, and when you can get Drew Hill and how much what is that song they did on it for Rush Hour? How much is your love for me? That's the song. Yeah,
he wrote all the lyrics to Just a Girl.
Wow.
Yeah, he wrote that song.
It's pretty impressive.
So when Captain Marvel came out, he made a big fat check off of that.
I bet.
You're such a liar.
Ooh.
Such a filthy liar. Anyway, let's move on from the comic book list until Mr. Alika gets back. But I do want to talk about a couple of really quick stories that have hit the news. We'll get to the comics momentarily. The big news, of course, is that
Black Widow.
We'll talk about that later on this evening.
Oh, okay.
If you don't know, it looks like Ryan Reynolds shared a brand new video of his YouTube channel where Ryan Reynolds Deadpool reacts to the newest Free Guy trailer with Taika Waititi. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see that, but it was pretty.
Okay, you totally misrepresented that. It was Deadpool does a reaction video with Korg.
With Korg, that's true.
It's like he's sitting on the couch with Taika.
Oh, word? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he's doing it with Korg, and it's a reaction to Ryan Reynolds' new movie coming out August 13th called Free Guy.
They watched the whole thing?
Yeah.
They even kicked themselves in the balls of that movie, saying that it came from the Fox fire sale.
Yeah, which is crazy. But
talk about like a weird way to debut Deadpool in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is like that's the way they do it. I mean, it's fun. Like if they did a series of those, that'd be kind of fun.
Oh yeah, it would be definitely an interesting way to introduce characters into the Marvel universe from breaking the fourth wall perspective, which would be a lot of fun, I think. So you could introduce other characters that way. Did you not get to see the trailer for it?
Oh, I didn't.
Oh yeah, it's really cool.
I didn't know there was a thing.
Yeah,
so they reacted to the whole movie, huh?
They reacted to the whole trailer, just the whole trailer that's coming out. Yeah, not the movie. Yeah, they reacted to the trailer.
To be honest, like if they did a buddy cop movie of Deadpool and Korg, that'd be a lot of fun.
Well, they're both in Free Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're also both in Green Lantern.
We get the correlation.
Yeah.
No, but
wait a minute. Taika Waititi's in Green Lantern?
He's his buddy in Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
He's the guy that's really impressed with the green suit.
That's right. Oh my god.
Nobody knew who he was then.
That's right. Wow.
Clean shaven.
Wow.
Well, same hair, but yeah.
Well, you can check it out on YouTube. It's a lot of fun.
Like Phormat.
Yeah. Who? Korg?
No, Taika Waititi.
Oh.
Korg? Wow. Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
You think Phormat looks like a pile of rocks? What a jerk.
Apparently so.
Hey, your stalling tactic worked.
Hey, guess who's back? Hey, you got to do his.
My goodness! Wait a minute!
45-minute intro.
Long enough. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the godfather of comic books. He is the chairman of the comic board, the sinister minister of
All right, stop.
And okay.
You probably already did this once.
Yeah, we did it twice.
Did it twice.
We did it twice.
You did it 4 times. What are you talking about?
Yeah. All right.
We're trying to summon Candyman.
Yeah, we were. Let's get right to it, shall we? Let's find out what's new this week in the world of the comic books.
No.
Hold on.
Woo!
Tune into the NERDWatch where Alika just drags the energy out of the show.
All right.
Hooah!
So, this shipment, along with the shipment that I read on last week's, is going to be in the store tomorrow. So I'm telling you now, Todd, if you can bring beer, and if you can get 2 12-packs, I'll pay for the other one. And thank you very much. That'd be great.
I'll bring the thongs.
Listen, not that I care, but I'm curious.
What's up?
Can you both suck down 2 12-packs in a night? Is that a thing?
Usually black out, and it devolves into a fist fight. The cops have come before.
Got it. Okay.
Like I said, Greg, you wouldn't believe what those guys can suck down.
I start listening to Todd talk about Marvel, and I lose my shit.
Hey, watch your language.
Sorry.
All right, that's okay. All right, got it. All right, so 2 12-packs. That's what I heard. 2 12-packs. Got it.
All right. It's easier than texting because I'm gonna forget. A man among ye. That's the pirate book. Aliens Aftermath #1. That's another Marvel #1 Aliens book.
Oh wow!
Gannon,
Another #1.
Did you read the Marvel Aliens? Was that any good?
I can't keep up with that with the Alien series at this point. Like as a comic book, it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I didn't even
see there's gonna be a new
the first Marvel book.
Did you see there's going to be a new Alien game that's going to go along with this comic? I guess maybe there's a new game coming out about the Marines again.
Greg, now it's time for you to shush.
Oh, why? I wanted to know. I didn't know if you guys heard about
the
it.
comic books.
We've been waiting for him for 30 minutes, and now that he's here, you're like, let's talk about video games.
That's a good point. All right, fine.
Black Hammer Visions #6 of 8.
Ooh.
Carnage, Black, White, and Blood, #4 of 4, the finale of that series. Champions, #8. That's fun. Conan, are you heckling the comic book? Extreme Carnage, Scream, #1.
Oh, another Carnage book?
Yeah, Extreme Carnage. So it must be a continuation of Absolute Carnage.
This Carnage drinks Mountain Dew.
Yes, he's extreme. He pounds the spiciest Doritos you have. I don't even know what those are.
Nice.
God Killer, Tomorrow's Ashes, #1. God Killer, Walk Among Us, #8.
Todd perked up at that.
Yeah, God Killer. Helm
he doesn't
Grey,
like God.
Helm Grey Castle, number 3 of 4. That's an Image book.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Iron Man, number 10. Man Eaters, Cursed, number 1 of 5.
Eaters,
Wow.
plural?
Cursed. Man Eaters. Eaters, yeah, what? What were you
Oh.
asking?
I was asking if it was plural.
Yeah,
Does
plural.
that mean there's more than one now?
Must be.
I thought it always was.
Yeah, it wasn't. No, I don't know. Now
Pretty sure it
I'm
was
questioning
Man
myself. I
thought there
can't
was-
speak authoritatively on it. Ninjak, number 1, which is a David Nakayama cover. Hell yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
dope.
sign me up for that, baby.
Sounds like a
DNA.
racial slur.
What?
DNA.
Oh, wait, which word? Don't repeat it. I don't want to hear it out of your mouth.
Nakayama, is that what you think is a bad word?
Ninjak.
Ninjak.
It is now that you said it.
Okay.
Oh,
The
man.
sneakiest of jacks.
Man.
I mean, it's like whatever N-word Greg says is just awful.
Wow.
All of them.
Jeez.
Any word that starts with N in his mouth, I'm uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Sinister War, number 1. That's a Marvel X-Men book. I think having to do with Mr. Sinister. It better, or else it'll
I
be
can't
totally
wait.
weird.
Murphy
It
in the
better.
chat says,
Hell yeah, dude. It better be Mr. Sinister based.
Murphy says God Killer sounds like a kid bedtime story.
Doesn't it, though?
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Daniel in the chat says some of the early Alien stuff by Dark Horse is pretty good, but the Marvel book is super slow and the art is just okay.
Whatever, Plagle.
As far
You
as
come
Alien,
in week after week saying all of this.
as far as Aliens comic books go, they are pretty popular, but I just didn't know how the Marvel ones were, and I guess Bagel kind of answered that.
There you go.
Oh. Damn.
Okay, so we're also getting on top of Sleigh Bells, which I announced last week from Bad Idea. We're also getting The Lot, which is a horror book. Which
Now, Greg, he said the lot, not B lot.
yeah, I think this lot's in between the A and the C lot.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Just you being our resident Filipino, I just might want to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering, my translations in my head were going.
That's
I didn't want you thinking it's literally about like eating like.
Yeah.
chickens
No, I got
and-
it. All right. You know, I got you.
Are
That
you
stuff makes you horny, man.
Yeah, we're done. Go ahead, Alika.
Star Wars Bounty Hunters, number 205. Thor, number 15. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ongoing, number 119. Way of X, number 4.
nice.
And X Corp, number 3. And
Sweet.
that is the comic book list.
Wow, comic book list. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to Alika for giving us the comic book list for this week. A lot of cool new comics. You can check them out at Maui Comics and Collectibles right in the heart of Wailuku Town at Request Music. Just ask for Alika. And he will be more than...
It's not just me, right?
What?
I was hearing you twice.
I know
Yeah.
somebody was playing...
I
all
just
heard that.
I just pulled it up on
Oh.
Facebook because
Oh,
I
you
was
just
trying to
pulled
look
it
at the
up.
comments. Because
Yeah. Ron says that's funny.
because G's
Yeah,
not posting all the. good
Well, that's because I
comments.
haven't had a chance to. I am the resident Filipino here, Ron, and it's a good thing. Anyway, Maui Comics and
Closest thing we
Collectibles.
have to a genuine Filipino, apparently.
That's correct. Maui Comics and Collectibles in the heart of Wailuku Town. Make sure you check them out. Check them out on Facebook at Maui Comics and Collectibles and on Instagram at Maui Comics, which is very, very cool. Also, before we get into Black Widow and all the other good stuff, let me get back to the news before, Alika decided to come out back on his own time. I want you guys to know that making the news today was Margot Robbie. She was speaking with Entertainment Weekly, and guess what? She explained that she may have to take a break from doing Harley Quinn, and hints that Warner Brothers has no roadmap for DC comic films as of right now. Robbie said, quote, "I don't know when we're next going to see her. I'm just as intrigued as everyone else." And she said it was kind of back-to-back filming Birds and filming Suicide Squad, which is coming out next month. So it's kind of like,
in between those, though.
I don't know. She said, so it's kind of like I need a break from Harley because she's exhausting. So yeah.
Whoa.
I mean, I can see what she means. I mean, as good as she's been as Harley and everything she's in, every single one of those with the exception probably of the new Suicide Squad, is that they've done all those movies dirty. Every single one of them.
True.
They didn't market Birds of Prey well. They chopped the hell out of Suicide Squad.
Yep.
They are probably very hands off with James Gunn's Suicide Squad just because they have James Gunn coming on board.
It's true.
I'm sure she'll change her tune if Suicide Squad comes out and it's a huge hit, and then they'll have a better idea what they're going to do with her next.
Yeah.
But I can't blame her for feeling that way because they haven't really been doing her very well. Like, she's the best thing in everything she's in.
It's true.
Just the movie around her either suffers or it's just not marketed. Because Birds of Prey was fine.
Yeah,
But
Birds of Prey
it's not
wasn't.
marketed.
You're right, and I will stick to my guns and say that I still think that the biggest problem is that it was not rated properly. It should have been a PG-13 movie to get more kids, more
I think
teens in there.
The simpler thing was just to call it a Harley Quinn movie. And then do the
that
Birds of
too.
Prey movie later, because it's clearly about her in the first place.
Yeah, that
It's
too.
more about her than it is the Birds of Prey, and
Yeah.
it just should have been called Harley Quinn.
And
Or
it's a real shame, but I mean, Robbie does, even though she doesn't know the future of Harley Quinn, she does have her own production company, so she is producing other film projects. So I'm sure she's got other things on her plate.
Tank Girl, like right around the corner. She's developing Tank Girl.
I heard she was developing Tank Girl. I don't know if that's the next thing on her plate for sure, but if it is, cool. I'd really like to see
Kind
that.
of strange though, because it's a little Harley-esque.
Yeah, very much so.
It's not
Very
it's
much
not
so.
too much of a deviation from what Harley Quinn's like.
Yeah, yeah,
The world is vastly different.
yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I can't fault her for it. Absolutely. I mean, they don't know what the hell they're doing with her, but she's great every time she's in one of these things.
Yeah, I'm with you, Gannon. I think that Harley is the best thing to come out of the DC universe. I mean, that is not saying that I don't like Shazam or Aquaman or Wonder Woman, but as far as, I guess, something that has resonated with people outside of comic books, I think Harley Quinn is probably the most, as far as live action goes, she's probably the most.
I mean, girls were cosplaying Harley Quinn before the movie even came out.
Correct.
And they're just based simply off of what she was like in the trailer, and they dug her look, and they liked her personality. So just based on nothing more than the trailer, she was already resonating with folks. So,
Murphy does bring up a good point. She may return when there's more internal stability. Of course, as we know, Warner Media did get sold to Discovery, and so now it is kind of on shaky ground as to where everything is exactly. So we'll get to see in the near future, which I thought was
what's
interesting.
fun with her character is that she's not a character that necessarily has to have her own movie all the time. She doesn't always have to be in Suicide Squad. She doesn't always have to have not even necessarily her own movie. You could just have her show up in somebody else's movie just to be a monkey wrench in whatever's going on in that movie.
Yeah.
So, and that's similar to Deadpool. That's what they can do with Deadpool, where he doesn't necessarily have to have his own movie. You'd want him to, but he could just show up in other people's stuff too, just for the fun of it.
Just for the fun of it. You're absolutely right.
Like how Doctor Strange showed up in Thor, that kind of thing.
Yeah. That does make sense, but yeah, it's a real shame. But if the success of Harley Quinn is the success of Suicide Squad will be any indication, we'll see her probably sooner rather than later. So I mean, as far as that goes, like I said, we'll talk about it later. But Black Widow, of course, has already surpassed expectations when it comes to the box office, both from the Disney Plus perspective and the theater perspective. So we'll see when it comes time for Suicide Squad.
Out.
It's true. It's a good point as well.
Not to kick it in the balls or anything, but there really isn't much else to go see in the theaters either.
That is a very good
point. If we were in
point.
the thick of a super competitive summer, like normal, that movie might have fared a lot different.
It's a good point. Also, in the news, in nerd news this evening, I'm kind of excited for this because I remember reading this when I was reading these books when I was a teen. I don't know if you guys remember Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time. Well, according to sources, it looked What?
You can read
Sometimes. Sometimes people have to help me. A Wheel of Time prequel, prequel film trilogy is reportedly in the works with the first film titled Age of Legends. It's going to be as a Hollywood Reporter has noted, it's actually being written by Thor and X-Men First Class writer Zach Stentz. Stentz is also the creator of Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous and has written episodes of Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles, Fringe, and The Flash. So it looks like he will be writing that trilogy. And if you guys are familiar with any of those fantasy books, I like Wheel of Time more than I do Lord of the Rings. So if that's any indication.
I thought
So
that movie
he's
came out already, that Ava DuVernay one,
which one?
Wheel of Time.
No. That's something else. Yes, that's a different thing altogether. I believe that is connected to the Madeline Engel book, I believe, or is it Margaret? I can't remember. I don't read chick books, bro. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. But yeah, you are right. That's the one with.
I mean, you're passing that off like you're joking, but we know that's true too.
Wait, hold on. So you're talking about A Wrinkle in Time?
A Wrinkle in Time, not A Wheel of Time.
I was waiting to see if he was going to get it, but he obviously wasn't getting it.
Yeah, I didn't watch The Wrinkle in Time. I didn't even read the book Wrinkle in Time.
I came through with the Oprah Winfrey thing and all that stuff.
Shut your mouth.
Just wanted
to
call Greg out for being a film critic that also didn't watch Wrinkle in Time.
I did not watch Wrinkle in Time. It looked terrible, and I had
Brie Larson hates you.
I know she does. I'm sure she does. But you know who Brie Larson loves? Our master of hard media, Aron, because he loved that movie.
Is there a movie he doesn't love? I mean, come on. Now.
How dare you.
Isn't that how he got the nickname Captain Five Stars?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean,
that is a good point. That's a very good point.
I mean, it's like Alika over there. He loves every comic book movie adaptation.
I can't wait to talk about Black Widow. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You give him the costumes. That movie's already great. That's
all.
You know, when we're talking about comic book adaptation movies,
yes.
Hey, how about that movie that was called Adaptation? Yeah. Todd, what did you think about that movie?
I thought it was, I thought it was really great. I really enjoyed.
Do you think it was a good adaptation of the?
It was a good adaptation of Adaptation.
It was comics accurate.
I really appreciated the work that Nicolas Cage's hairline put in that movie.
So Wheel of Time, huh? Wow.
Working overtime.
Wacky.
Wheel of Time.
That thing's been in like production hell for like they've been throwing that thing around for years.
Yeah.
Who's gonna make it? I don't know. Maybe we'll make it.
They throw it around the room so more than I throw myself around the room.
Well, it's a long time coming, to be honest with you. I mean, it is the books, the setup in the book, and the I can already see how the book story and the elaborate sets that go along with it, because it is a sprawling epic from Robert Jordan.
Is this going to be like how that Mortal Engines movie just kind of came and went and nobody even watched it? It's going to be one of those things where it's based on a book people know, but then when it comes out, it's that thing like, oh, that came out? I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
Wasn't Mortal Engines a series?
It was supposed to be. It didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, Peter Jackson actually sank all of. I don't know if he put his own money in it, but Peter Jackson produced it, and the trailers looked fun and awesome. But then for some reason, nobody went at all. Nobody went.
Nobody went to see it. I have it, and I have yet to watch it. So we'll see.
Case in point.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I haven't watched it myself.
Greg.
Yeah, I know. Crazy.
You're letting everybody down.
Can we imagine what, Gannon?
Can you imagine like the people that work really hard on making that a good movie, and then when it comes out, like absolutely no one cared. Like nobody saw it. Nobody, even the ones that did see it, didn't talk about it. Like, to be honest, I didn't even know it came out in theaters until it was already like a couple of years after it had come out.
I kind of want to watch this now. What?
You know
Mortal
what's
Engines?
interesting? Yeah,
it wasn't even like a Waterworld failure where like people were talking about how bad of a flop it was. Like it just came and went. Like nobody even noticed.
Right? Yeah. I remember that.
Like Waterworld was a whole other story where there was so much anticipation for it that it failed. Mortal Engines, nobody even went. There was fun.
Well, it was released at the same time as Into the Spider-Verse, The Mule, Aquaman, Mary Poppins Returns, and Bumblebee.
Oh, Mary Poppins Returns will do it.
I'm sure it will.
But I mean, if you were going to take your kid to a sort of a adventure.
Wait, that was all the same weekend? That doesn't seem likely.
No, I think that was all the same month.
It was the Spider-Verse and the Mule for the same weekend, And then Aquaman, Mary Poppins, and Bumblebee were like the week after.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
The Mule.
It's a lot of IP in Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
The Mule.
Shut
Is
your mouth.
that the one that Eastwood directed so he can throw himself in a three-way?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the one where he goes to Mexico, he sticks balloons in himself, and then brings drugs to America. That's what it is, right?
No, but Phormat's absolutely correct. He put himself in that movie to be in a three-way. It's recorded. It's you're right, Phormat. It's exactly what happened with that film. It's a good movie though.
I just wanted to walk everybody through the image of Clint Eastwood shoving balloons in himself.
All of a sudden, I get flashbacks to freaking American Me. Oh my
Do you think
gosh.
he gets even squintier when he does it?
He might.
Maybe.
He might. He
His
might.
voice gets gravelier.
Yeah, it's funny. Anyway, so we can get to
He's 90.
Loki.
I'm pretty sure I could take him in a fight now, so I'm not worried about it.
So we can get to Loki and Black
Get him,
Widow here.
Gannon.
I got a couple other stories really quick.
Sure.
A certain longtime and prolific Batman writer was asked, and I'll let you guess who it is. He was asked, why is manga
Joaquin
wiping?
Phoenix.
No, well, he was asked why manga is wiping the floor with American comics.
Manga.
He had
I already
a
know who you're talking about. I don't want to talk about this guy.
hey, listen. It's an interesting point, regardless of whether you like it or you don't like it. It's an interesting point.
Guerrero.
The gentleman asked, his name was Ricardo Garcia.
No.
He asked, what is your theory or thoughts on why manga is wiping the floor with American comics? The prolific Batman writer wrote, it's not too hard to figure out, really. There's a lot of dedication, passion, and craft in manga comics, and that's missing almost entirely from the big two. He elaborated, Marvel and DC still run the store here. They still are the market leaders, and unfortunately, there is no variety there. There's nothing really different. There's not something for everybody the way there is with
like
manga.
Todd.
Get
Yeah,
this.
I hate to sound diminishing, but a lot of manga and anime is very niche-y in genre anyway, and a lot of the stuff that seems to cut through is all genre-esque anyway.
Well, you know,
It's not
It
saying
is,
not
but
a lot
there's
of
so
variety.
much of it.
That cuts
He-
through.
Yeah.
he actually who I'm speaking about. He brings up that point exactly. It says he says it's not hard to see. The artwork is attractive. It's different. It's engaging. It's interesting. It's varied. So there's a lot of reasons to like manga, and not a whole lot of reasons to like what's out now, because what's out now for the big two is for the most part poorly crafted. There's few exceptions, but for the most part, it's the poorly crafted, poorly conceived. There's an obvious political agenda, everything, and there's no variety. He said.
I think the thing that separates how manga works from comics, like with the exception of graphic novels, is like it's harder to get people to buy into individual floppies, whereas with manga you get a complete story in one book, so that there's a little bit more appeal there. You know, you're going to get the full story, even if it is one chapter of a story. You're going to get that full thing. It's harder to get somebody to walk into a comic store and buy floppies of stuff because they're going to be like, oh, this is issue 17. I didn't see all the other ones,
Right.
so they're far behind the curve. And then when they see the graphic novels on the shelves for American comics, they're just seeing, standard shots of superheroes without any idea what the story is like. Whereas manga stuff actually does give you at least some flavor as to what it's going to be.
This was something that I was not.
I agree with that.
I was not aware of this until he spoke of it. The writer who I'll talk about at the end.
Stop being in
All right.
suspense about it.
All right. He then said in Japanese manga, and I didn't know that this was true, and I should have asked Phormat and frickin' Kai about this. In Japanese manga, there's golf comics. There's not one comic about golf. There's multiple comics about golf. He also said, I've made references on these videos to one of my favorite mangas is about fishing. It's just about fishing. It's not about vampires fishing on another planet or witches fishing or fishing after a zombie apocalypse.
On those, though?
I don't know. He says this is about guys fishing. So he said
They're very popular.
Yeah.
Are they
Like
throwing
old
the
businessmen, like the worker bees.
Yeah.
They eat that stuff up because they never go on vacation.
Yeah, he says fishing from boats, fishing on shore, fishing from the banks of rivers, and the stories are fascinating and beautifully drawn and beautifully realized. So, and this is the last thing that I'll talk about, because he says one more interesting thing, and he says he contrasted that with American comics. He says, but here, what what do we get? We get superheroes and poorly done superheroes. There really isn't anything else at the mainstream companies. It's superheroes, and they are all avatars for the writers, and they're kind of tiresome. They're not particularly well drawn. They're not particularly well realized. Now, that
Seems
is
like a broad generalization.
and well, to be fair though, Todd makes that generalization quite often, and we let him get away with it. And I mean, there are, I guess, this must be a problem, don't you think?
But I don't have, I don't have the vitriol in my voice that he does. I wasn't kicked out of the club. You know what I mean? I don't.
Oh, I didn't know there's a club.
Well,
I'm still waiting to get in the club.
Maybe. But he's kind of been he's a sort of a spurned figure, and I think that he's just using manga to put in a couple jabs towards DC Marvel.
Yeah, to me it sounds like the Steven Dorff thing. You had no problems participating in it when you were in the team, but now that they don't want you on the team, now you have all these problems with it.
Yeah.
Well, Drew in the chat says manga is selling well among girls and young women as well as males. I didn't know that.
51% of all comic book sales in America are female, I think. I read that statistic.
Murphy in the chat says he does not agree with Dixon's politics, but he's right about the variety in genres for sure. So that's interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that he's trying to make a separation between American comics and
manga
Japanese comics, and he's saying that there's all kinds of stuff for all kinds of people, but what we get are these very, very left-wing liberal superheroes that nobody wants to read. That's what I'm kind of hearing with this.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about it, because he is a comic skater, I don't think anybody's just come out and say it this episode, and that's why nobody wants to listen to him talk about it. But he said it in general terms. He didn't say it. They said the heroes generally become avatars for the writers, which is true. So if a comic skater's writing the book, then it's going to be crap. Thank you, man.
Yeah. What's interesting is, well, go ahead, Alika. I'm sorry.
Yeah, my wife wanted to break up the podcast. Thanks, guys.
My wife texted and said, "Good podcasting," and it was during the part where I was particularly quiet.
Makes sense. Anyway, Alika, continue.
I was just saying, the way he made the statement makes it very easy to agree with, no matter who you are. Because he was just saying the truth about why manga is so. He's an American comic writer. His heroes are generic and not very fully realized. He's admitting that about himself. He's not trashing anybody. He's just saying that Japanese comics manga is just more. We could have that. We could have that here in America. But you know why we can't have nice things? Because everyone's a bunch of assholes.
Wow. Okay.
Someone's angry.
Well, you know what's funny is that the last thing he did say was interesting. He said, "Why would you want to read this crap if you had a choice of reading a genre that you prefer, be it horror or mystery or espionage or golf?" He said, "When there's only one flavor in American comics, of course, Japanese comics are going to win the day."
A small move of the needle, but kind of cool nonetheless, is that you're starting to see horror comics hit the mainstream. DC is branching off into horror comics, which is hopeful. It's kind of cool. Bad Idea has a good horror comic coming out.
It is interesting. I guess until recently, I didn't realize the hold that manga had on the American psyche.
Did you not walk through a Walden books back in the day?
No. What I
Have
meant
you not
was
been to Borders this week.
No. What I didn't go to Borders. But what I'm saying is that I didn't.
Not Borders, Barnes and Noble. We don't have
Barnes and Noble. Oh, no, I didn't realize how. I knew that it was popular amongst a small subset. I didn't realize that manga has literally jumped over American comics and become so prolific in its stories and the
that's been
variety
for
of stories.
decades, man.
And I didn't realize that, until I started talking to you guys and doing some research on it. And I didn't realize that, because for me, there's only I'm only attracted to certain manga. I didn't realize, and that's because
let me guess, big boobs.
No, my problem is that there's
outfits.
I hate speed lines. I hate things that are
like this.
I look at the art too much, and I don't pay attention to the story. And when I don't like the art,
right.
the story doesn't mean anything to me.
Only portrays white people.
That's the problem. See, and that's
Greg
the problem.
Doesn't like to read. That's all I'm hearing.
No, when I had me and Phormat have gone through this, and Phormat understands where I'm coming from. When I don't appreciate the Japanese animation, I lose connection. So with certain mangas, I don't. I didn't understand. So, I mean, the stories may be good, but I'm just not attracted to them because it doesn't fly off the page for me like it should. So, like I said, that's my problem. That's something that I'm trying to get over. I went back, and by the way,
like you are new to the whole thing. I mean, there was a point when you thought, people that read manga were weirdos. And you're like, I don't get it.
Yeah. No, it's true. I was at that point. That's a good point. Yeah.
Like, welcome to this side of the table.
I got to tell you something. I went back and watched Demon Slayer first episode again. I have a different reaction to it. I think it's much better than I gave it credit for.
Told you.
And I just watched it just the other day. That's a fresh take.
Very good, G.
Yeah. Drew in the chat says Dixon may be a crank now, but I'm a big fan of Evangeline and Airboy and El Cazador. So that's pretty good. Murphy says, fly off the page and slaps like Rick James. I like it. Anyway, so Chuck Dixon making some very interesting points. Whether you like him or you don't like him, I think it's a very interesting point.
Ironically, the runs that he's written for DC, when it came to Nightwing, a lot of his Batman stuff, he actually did great stuff there. So... yeah, I don't know. This argument of American comics and characters and how limited it is. Yes, that's true. At least with the big two. When you get into the independents, you see a lot of stuff that you don't see the other guys doing. And these days, that stuff is actually popping a lot better than even Batman stuff. They don't sell the same numbers, but people are noticing them more and actually gravitating to them. Like I've been finding myself in particular picking up more independent stuff, but I've always kind of felt that the mainstream characters, they're really just limited by either what the writer is capable of doing or is allowed to do, because these are all corporate things. So if they're not allowed to do certain things, that's really, if there were fewer shackles on these characters, we'd actually see some interesting stuff coming out of it. Really it's just how corporate everything is.
And that's what I was going to ask, because as we do know, the big two are owned by corporations, of course, Disney and Warner Brothers. But ultimately, wouldn't they see the success of manga and the success of it here and maybe pivot a bit as to the stories that they're telling in those comics to make them sell?
When it comes to Disney, the money's in the films, the money's in the merchandise.
Right. That's a good point.
The comics publishing, they probably don't even bother asking what the books are selling like these days. They could care less.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And Warner Media or Discovery Warner Media, whatever the hell it's called these days, they're on the verge of shuttering the whole damn thing the way it seems right now. Anyway,
that's true.
It's more trouble than it's worth in their eyes. But the
100%.
IP is still valuable. So, it's strange because you would almost think that when it comes to the comics, they would just say, do whatever the hell you want. But it's really not the case.
It's pretty interesting to me.
They would give them room to explore different things and have these characters do stuff that we wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
But every time you think a book's going to zig, they zag right back.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's really the corporate stuff that's really hampering American mainstream comics.
Well, if that is the case, if they were to break away from the corporations, which of course they can't, but if they were to, you think they'd be successful if they could write whatever they wanted?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Interesting.
Because all the most interesting stuff that you could do with these characters are things that you wouldn't have somebody step in and say, oh, you can't have Batman marry Catwoman because we have to maintain the status quo. Which is the number one thing for any mainstream comic. It's like you want to flirt with the idea of doing something new, but you don't want to step too far off of center, because if you do that, you might lose some readership.
First
Which
of
in
all,
their eyes is so few readers at this point, they don't want to do anything to upset the small fan base they already have. What they don't realize is a lot of that fan base is starting to get, or has been, bored. They want to see different things.
well, I got a question then. If Batman were to marry Catwoman, would it be okay in the comics for him to go down south?
What, like Carolina?
Yeah, you know.
I don't think he'd go there.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's probably what Selena Kyle calls it, because
Batman
it's real
seems like
humor.
more of an East Coaster.
Okay.
I don't know if he would. I mean, I can't picture him in Texas.
Fair enough.
What's he gonna do?
I can picture him all the way down in Mexico.
I could too. Drew in Texas. Drew in the chat says, I think Disney uses Marvel Comics as an IP for him. That was the whole point of buying them anyway.
I think they both do. DC probably to a lesser extent, but Marvel for sure.
Oh yeah, for 100%.
Absolutely.
Drew always Drew from Texas brings back the concept of the imaginary story, which I completely agree with, and maybe that's what's missing. But then again, when you're making money hand over fist from these Marvel comics, why would you change course?
I would argue that they're not making money hand over fist.
well, since the pandemic for sure, but I mean,
films they're making money hand over fist.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
When it comes to the comics, they're just like, how many T-shirts did we sell? They're more worried about that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point as well. Anyway, moving on in the news today. That pretty much does it. So, last two things on the agenda. First off, we're going to talk about Loki, the last episode of Loki, episode 5. Tonight, of course, is episode 6, the final episode in Loki.
It starts in 4 minutes.
All right, sweet. So Loki. Since we want to spend a majority of our time on Black Widow, Loki episode 5, a real quick around the table discussion. What did everybody think? I'll start with Kai.
Meh. I mean, I will say I did enjoy a few things in there, but I'm not feeling Loki. Sorry.
Oh, you're not feeling Loki. Todd, are you feeling Loki?
I'm feeling frisky.
That's Todd.
All right, episode 5. Oh, did you enjoy it?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I called it last week. It was gonna end on like a cliffhanger, right after or during the climax, and I kind of saw it coming, and I'm interested to see where it goes. But yeah, it's all right.
It's all right.
I mean, I think it's better than Falcon and Winter Soldier. It seems a little bit more balanced, a little bit more focused. There seems to be like one central plot. Falcon and Winter Soldier were kind of all over the place, with a lot of characters. So
got it.
I'm kind of glad that it's stuck to a theme, stuck to the plot.
All right, Mr. Fogelstein, what did you think? Gannon, that's you.
Oh,
Rumple Foreskin.
What are we talking about?
Loki, episode 5. What do you think?
Star Wars episode 5. I thought that scene where Darth Vader cuts Luke's hand off was absolutely insane. I did not see that coming.
Hey,
when we find out that Vader's his dad, I was mind blowing.
All right, hang on, Dick Nose.
That happened in episode 5?
Loki, episode 5.
Oh, nah.
Did happen in episode 5.
No,
Wow,
I mean, I liked it. Todd's right. The show. I think the main reason the show is so balanced is because it's centered around one character. You're not going back and forth between a dozen different characters trying to tell one story. You're telling one story with one character who has variants. I still just to kind of repeat my sentiments from last time. I kind of almost feel like this could have been a movie instead of a show. Because there's quite a lot of, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but there's quite a lot of moments in the episodes where I'm just like, this seems like fat you could have trimmed out just to keep momentum going.
Right.
Because there is a certain point of it where it just kind of feels like they're circling around the same point just to keep an episode going, as opposed to just getting to the end of your story. But I mean, Tom Hiddleston's always fun to watch. Getting to see all those other variants in action was kind of neat. What's his name? Richard Grant? Is it Richard Grant that plays the classic Loki?
Yes.
Yeah.
Richard E. Grant.
Richard E. Grant. I mean, I've yet to ever see him in something where I think he sucks. He's great in everything he's in, even if what he is in sucks, which is a funny way to say that, I guess. But
yeah, I guess.
If he's in something, he's doing. He draws the eye, shall we say? I didn't quite understand the wisdom of recreating Asgard to make the monster fight it. I didn't quite understand that, but
Right.
I just kind of went along with it because they're going for the emotional impact of seeing Asgard, which apparently looks exactly the same in his world as it does our Loki. But yeah, I mean, I dug it. I'm dying to see what happens. Tonight's the last one, right?
That's it. Tonight's the last one.
Yeah, so I'm dying to see how this pays off. And as I've said before, this feels like it sets up more for the overall Marvel universe than WandaVision supposedly was going to, even though they never outright said that it was going to have a deeper impact on everything, or maybe they did. But Loki feels like it actually will have a deeper impact on everything, even if it is just something that only the audience knows is happening in the background of all these things. It's something that we know is happening that maybe the rest of the characters won't.
Right. Phormat, what about you? What'd you think?
Well, with everybody else crapping on the show, I thought it was great.
Oh, wow.
Seriously, yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm going against the grain here, but I enjoyed it. But I've enjoyed it since episode 1. Like, I was all in since episode 1. As soon as they let all the possible theories out the bag, I was invested. So yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was cool to see the variants. Throg, I mean, that was a cool cameo. Although I don't know why his Mjolnir is full size, but whatever. Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I can't wait to see the final episode and see where we end up. Like how this ties into the rest of the MCU.
It will be interesting for sure. Mr. Maui Comics himself, are you on Phormat's train or Todd and Gannon's train?
I will never be on Todd and Gannon's train. That's a gross
I don't even feel like I said anything bad. Why is it I'm crapping on it? I was really crapping on it. I don't know why I'm being thrown into that.
Because you started with, I agree with Todd.
Nobody wants to be on a train with Todd.
Yes, but in my further articulation of my opinions, it was still positive.
All right, that's a fair point. All right. So what do you think?
I love the show. Episode 5. Yeah, I mean, I don't even really focus too much on the show anymore. Like, I'm just trying to watch for the major plot points. But this was definitely like an Easter egg episode. So I kind of just I don't even try to find the Easter eggs. Like, if something's super glaring and obvious, like how oblivious I am when I watch this, I missed the Thanos copter, and I had to watch a YouTube Easter egg breakdown, and everybody's talking about the Thanos copter, and I was like, I don't remember that. What?
I just saw a screenshot of it. I didn't even see a clip.
Yeah.
It was there, and pretty obvious too.
Yeah.
But I mean,
there was so much stuff in this episode. For sure.
There's so many ways you can enjoy Loki, like either for the main story and all that stuff, or for all the random Marvel crap for all of us super fans who are just addicted to it.
Yeah. So episode 6 is tonight. Kind of wraps up the story. Or
yeah, all right, bye guys.
Yeah, shut up. So check out Loki tonight on Disney Plus. So episode 6, the final episode of Loki tonight. Anyway, the time y'all been waiting for. We've been stalling enough. It is time for us.
Your shirt off, aren't you?
I'm going to take my shirt off. No, I'm just kidding. What I am going to do.
If you had it mixed louder.
I know. I'm sorry. There it is. How much better? It's over. Anyway, it's time to talk about, of course, Black Widow review. Our Black Widow review. All 6 of us have seen it. And full spoilers are ahead. So if you have not watched it, you may want to close your ears and wait. Or, of course, leave the pod for now. But full spoilers ahead for Black Widow. We're going to discuss everything that we thought was pertinent as far as story, as far as characters and things of that nature. And since I started with Kai for Loki, I'm going to start at the bottom with Alika. Black Widow, was it good? Alika, what'd you think?
Don't you ever call me a bottom again.
All right, power bottom. I'm sorry.
It was no. First at worst. No, just kidding. Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it. It was great. I thought. A lot. Are we spoiling? Can we full spoilers? Okay.
Full spoilers.
So Taskmaster, yes. I mean, it's definitely gonna hurt a lot of people's feelings, but because there's so many cool stories with that character and everything, but it was also a cool take. I liked it. I liked the costume was definitely cool to me, and the fight mimicry was there. And yeah. I'm not too deep when it comes to comics and my enjoyment of them. So the mimicry was there, the costume was there. I'm like, Taskmaster, that's it. That's all I need.
If you were gonna change the Taskmaster character that way, and like they did in this movie, at least they did us the favor of having it make sense, which I thought was
it tied into the story. So, yeah. But I mean, what was I gonna say about this movie? I'm like, aside from the Taskmaster stuff, and everybody loved Yelena Belova. You better, or you suck. And the vest stuff, God, I just, man, there was one part of this movie I wanted to focus on. I forgot about it, so sorry.
Well, listen, we'll come up with this stuff. Yeah, we'll come up with stuff.
Red Guardian. He was definitely not a highlight for me. I'm just like, so. The one thing I wanted to say is it was
Rachel Weisz's terrible eye makeup,
but the underlying story of this movie is just so dark and disturbing, and it's a Marvel movie, so everyone's sitting at the table doing like hokey Marvel jokes and like, "Hi, I'm your dad. I am trafficking you children." You know what I mean? Like he knows what's going to happen to them in this program, and it's just, and even when he breaks out of prison, he's just like the lovable fake Russian accent dad. And that's the other thing I wanted to say about the movie is that I think that David Harbour has been watching the NERDWatch, and he studied Todd Bernardi for that role because he was literally playing Todd Bernardi the whole time.
It's true. I love vodka.
That's what I'm talking about. All right. That's my review.
Okay. All right. Phormat, what did you think?
It was good. Gannon?
All right. It's a good
review.
I
want to hear what Phormat has to say about Taskmaster, because he had mixed feelings when he first saw it.
I was a big fan of comic book Taskmaster, so I was really interested in seeing where they went with the character in the movie, and everything leading up to the reveal was awesome. And then the reveal happened, and I don't know, like I wasn't mad, but I wasn't like put off either. You know what I mean? It made sense in the context of the movie. I think the only thing I had a problem with was the motivation. Didn't seem right. Like it didn't seem the scale. Like Natasha's been beating herself up all these years about killing this kid, and then she comes back and she's like hell bent on saving this person now. But it was like at the end they were like, buddy, and I was like, you still blew off half her face, dude. What the? You know what I mean?
She's had like 20 years to cool off about it.
Yeah, but Black Widow also freed her from being enslaved by her own father, which was
that's a good point.
She was like,
I guess so, but blew off her face.
That's what they bonded.
You'd be like,
over.
Okay, all right, yeah, we're good now.
They bonded.
Well, I mean, imagine surviving that, and then you're thrown into servitude after that. Yeah, I'm sure it's more of a bittersweet thing than a I immediately forgive you thing. Because the way Red
like they were shaking hands and
Well,
Woo!
I
Yeah, but
High-fiving
not
each
like they're
other
gonna
at
go
the
and have
end
a
there.
beer together or anything like that.
Format. The only thing, and you make a good point. The only reason why I would even remotely give that a pass is the red dust. That's why. So I think that the ridiculousness of the red dust being this MacGuffin of curing these ladies of their so-called possession by this man.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
But she still blew off her face.
But did she
Yeah,
know?
once she gets free, she's gonna remember. Hey, what? No, I mean you killed my dad and all. Thanks, but I still hate your guts.
Right?
Well, and that's a curious
I think there's
question.
still room for that story-wise, though.
Well, not now. Natasha's not around.
Right, and that's a curious question. The curious question would be is that would her father have allowed her to know of that part of her life, because she wouldn't have known because she was just in there by total accident.
No,
right?
she wasn't.
Oh, no, not by accident.
Natasha was using her.
Natasha was using
to
her. That's
confirm
correct.
his presence in the building.
Sorry, I was thinking of another movie. My bad. They did the same exact thing. Yeah, no, you're right. You're 100% right. And so with that in mind, would she have known it was Natasha? That's the other question.
Because Natasha didn't do it. She made the call.
Right.
So she's not
Which is the same as pressing the button.
Right,
it is to a certain extent, but she's not the one that actually blew it up. It's just probably their way around that, where it's not she's super responsible for it.
Right. They're kind of hand wavy about it, though.
Right, very hand wavy about it.
Basically, gave the go, like, oh, we see them.
But at least now we know what Budapest was, or Budapest.
Yeah,
whatever the hell, however the hell they want to pronounce it now, Budapest.
Yeah. What's interesting is that anything you want to add for me before I move to Gannon about the movie?
Florence Pugh she stole every scene that she was in, and the scenes she wasn't in, I couldn't wait for her to return back to the screen.
I actually feel the same way you do.
She was an absolute darling during this movie.
She was adorable.
Mad props. She stole
100%.
every scene for sure.
Yeah. She did so well. I thought that
she had the Marvel punchline of the movie. So she also gets that medal.
The fighting pose thing, that was hilarious.
Yes.
Oh
my god, that was so stupid.
That was so funny. Todd, you wait your turn. Todd, we're gonna get to you.
Do you not know how a Marvel movie works? You shut up.
Lee, Todd, just wait. We'll get to you in a second. Gannon, now that you can fully spoil it, what did you think?
What movie were we talking about again?
Shut up.
Episode 5.
No, I mean, just to double down on the Florence Pugh love, the thing that I couldn't get over is that Scarlett Johansson is also an executive producer on the movie and the star of the movie. It showed incredible restraint on her part and how egoless she was, in a sense, to share that much of the film with a character that's going to shine that well. Because she had to have known, based on the performance, that people are going to be talking about Florence Pugh a lot from this movie. They must have known it during filming. So for her to just, and she probably even had something to do with the casting too, where she's just like, this girl's great, let's get her in there. You know, she's going to steal a lot of scenes, which she absolutely does. So I think there must be some level of props to be given to Scarlett Johansson for putting somebody there that would be so magnetic in every scene she's in to basically take the spotlight away from Scarlett Johansson in a movie that's centered around her. So that was the part that kind of blew my mind about it. And Florence Pugh, like, I forgot she was in Midsommar, which I talked to you about earlier.
She was great in that movie.
So she's still got a huge career ahead of her. And, without getting too heavily into spoils, she's definitely going to carry on in the Marvel Universe. And this movie, in a sense, is setting her up to be in it further beyond this. The one thing that I was hoping this movie was going to be, although once I saw the first trailers, it was obviously not going to be, is this whole Budapest thing that they've been talking about since the first Avengers movie. Mm-hmm. You always kind of felt like when they were going to finally tell Black Widow's backstory that they were going to actually do that story, and they never do. It's just this untold story, and they talk about it, what happened, but you never actually get to see it. So that's what I was thinking this movie is going to be about. And I was kind of surprised that this is her story, and it's not technically an origin story. You don't get into it that deeply, because you already kind of know everything you need to know about how she got to the place that she's in. And, to tell a story that happened along the way of Civil War, that explains how she got her jacket or the vest by Infinity War, which I didn't, it's that thing of like, you wouldn't have thought of it when you watch Infinity War, but now when you watch Infinity War, it adds a layer to Infinity War that wasn't there before. Because now when you watch Infinity War, you're going to be thinking, after the snap and you see her in Endgame, she's not just sad about the people that were all lost during Thanos. She probably lost a lot of them too, or if not, her whole family. She's just not revealing that to anyone. But we would know that she probably lost, if not all of them, at least a couple of them during the snap. And maybe that's why she's wearing the vest in those moments too. David Harbour is on the verge of stealing the movie from everybody. But just by being sheer David Harbour. And I love that he keeps talking about fighting Captain America, which is
he's so big and so
and it's so debatable, because you're just like, okay, but when did you fight Captain America though? You know what I mean? Like, because it's not something that's ever been hinted at before, so it just could be something he keeps telling everybody just to brag. But he's probably, he's not Captain America on the fame level as Steve Rogers was. Yet he could hold his own with Steve Rogers.
I thought about because you know how they kind of counter it immediately with the Captain America was still frozen in ice.
Yeah.
I thought about it, and I have two possible theories. One is that the Captain America that the Red Guardian fought against wasn't Steve Rogers. It was another person. Like it could have been what's his name? The
Bradley.
Bradley.
It could have been him.
Wasn't Isaiah Bradley before Steve Rogers though?
No, he was after. He was a replacement because of what happened to Steve.
The only thing is, it might not have been Isaiah Bradley, just because they didn't indicate he wore the mantle, but maybe he did. Maybe he did wear the mantle as a super soldier.
Yeah. The other theory. I'm sorry. What?
I was thinking in terms of the comics. I think in the comics he comes before Steve. They tested him out.
Maybe
first, and then there was Steve. I wasn't thinking about it in terms of the show, and I forgot. Yeah, in the show he happens after Steve. I forgot.
The other theory I had is, what if he fought Steve when he went back in time to return the stones?
It's possible.
So he was still frozen during that time, but he's still walking around in the red, white, and blues. And here comes Red Guardian, like, oh. I mean, that's what came to mind.
And
anyway.
maybe that's why Cap doesn't talk about it either, because, remember he goes, did Captain America ask about me? And maybe he doesn't talk about it because it was out of the timeline and he's not supposed to.
Maybe.
Now, I did have a question that I was kind of confused about in the movie. Maybe
before you move off of me, though.
I'm not moving off of you. I'm asking you a question.
Oh, sorry.
I'm
so sorry.
Yeah, I didn't want to move off of you. What I was going to ask, and it was kind of for everybody, but my question is that, and maybe I missed it, but Red Guardian, you guys are remarking about Red Guardian. What I didn't understand is that he was being held in prison, right? Mm-hmm. Was there? What I didn't get is that being a super soldier that he was, why was he allowing himself to stay in there?
I mean, it's very subtextual. They don't have him say anything about it. I think part of it was it's a little bit of he's been disgraced by his country, so he knows they don't want him. And I think another part is he's carrying around a lot of guilt for all the things that he's done to his own family, to anybody he's done this stuff to before. Because the thing you got to remember is every single part of that family, they were all thrown through the system. They all play their part in the system in this really dark thing that this country is doing to all these people.
Right.
And
no, continue. I'll cap it after.
So in his sense, he doesn't go through the same experience as the girls do going through the Black Widow program, but probably similar. You know what I'm saying? And maybe
they're all eunuchs.
Possibly.
No, they say in the film that they have involuntary hysterectomies.
Well, no, the girls do, but
those girls aren't even his. Those two little girls aren't even theirs. To begin with.
Right.
They're shoved in there.
That's what I'm saying. If they do that to the women, do they do that to the men? Does David Harbour?
I'm willing to bet they do.
Have junk in this movie?
They do.
It's possible. I just didn't understand. What I didn't understand was he
does seem surprised about it though when they start talking to him about it. But it could also be maybe he didn't even know they did that to him back when they were experimenting on him.
That's a good point too.
Or maybe they told him that the super serum was going to make him impotent anyway.
Like their version of the super soldier serum is like what they did to Michael Jackson, where it chemically castrated him.
Yeah,
it was just like a side effect of their version of the super serum.
Yeah,
fascinating. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
Double off of what Gannon was saying. I don't think he was. It seemed like he was proud of his family, not like ashamed, like felt guilt for what he did.
No. I just mean in terms of him having eventually been disgraced, that he put all of his faith and pride into this country that turned on him.
Right. And that's what I didn't understand is that being the super soldier that he was, why wouldn't have he attempted to leave earlier?
I don't think he had anywhere to go after that. Like his country no longer wants him. His government they don't care about him. The secret organization that he was a part of.
Good point.
He wasn't in the Supermax. He wasn't in the raft. He probably could have broken out anytime he wanted to.
Yeah, that's the point.
Where was he gonna go? Who is he gonna go with?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a good point.
At least
he could have broken out, but then he would be in Siberia and it would have frozen to death.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay,
he would have been at least full.
But who's to say he would have either, though? I mean, he might not.
At least in prison, like he's got a bed, he's got food.
Right, right.
And also, he's the strongest guy there, so nobody's gonna really fuck him up. You know what I mean?
Oh, easy, dirty language. Guy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say?
Anyway, before I do move to Todd, Gannon, anything you'd like to say before we move on to Todd?
I'm sorry, I said fuck him up.
Thanks, appreciate it. Thanks for saying it again, guy. Gannon, anything you'd like to add before I move on to Todd?
Rachel Weisz's eye makeup sucks.
That's it. That's it.
It really drove me insane. I was like, I didn't understand the point of it. It didn't.
Was it her makeup? I really felt like her wig was weird. Like her hair kept. I don't know. It just seemed out of place.
I did think it was strange for Disney to allow a scene of animal torture to take. I mean, granted, it was a CGI pig, but I was just like, wow, animal torture. Shown right there on a movie that kids are going to see.
That whole movie, if you look at every scene, there is some kind of crime against humanity in every frame. That movie is so dark.
But that's how I felt about Iron Man 3 too. So that's not.
Yeah, but we had Justin Hammer.
I didn't say anything about Troublemaker, and this is where I'll leave it. I don't really have too much background on Taskmaster, being not too much of a Marvel guy. When I did see the reveal, the thought did cross my mind. Is like, fans aren't gonna. There's probably hardcore fans of Taskmaster that aren't gonna like this.
Mm-hmm.
However, it wasn't Iron Man 3 Mandarin misdirect. It was still essentially what Taskmaster's supposed to be.
Right, exactly.
Just who Taskmaster was the thing that was changed, and I dug Taskmaster. It's exactly kind of how I would picture Taskmaster being a movie, where it's almost as if it's the Terminator, but it can fight like any Avenger.
Yeah.
So
I really dug it. I really dug the character.
Yeah, I thought the character was handled well, but I did see that there's going to be some fans that would be like, no, this isn't what it's going to be like. But within again, what Phormat was saying, within the context of this story, where it's about these women being shoved through this program, it actually would make a lot of sense in the scope of this movie that Taskmaster would be a woman in the context of this particular
essentially a widow.
Yeah, so like if she took the helmet off and it was just some random guy that we didn't see the whole movie, it would have been like, what? You know what I mean? Like they had to do something with Taskmaster that planted itself in the story in a meaningful way. So it didn't bother me, but I can see how it upset some people. But again, it wasn't the same as the Iron Man 3 Mandarin misdirect, where they go so far off of what Mandarin is. But granted, it's tricky for Marvel to do Mandarin because it's such an Asian stereotype of a character, to the point where you're just like, maybe just don't do it. You know what I mean? Just if you can't figure out a way to do it where it works and it's not dumb, just don't do it. You know what I mean? It's an iconic character. Just maybe don't do it.
Yeah. Now, before we get to Todd, because I'm so excited, I am going to. I gave my review of the movie kind of a couple weeks ago. I really did like this movie a lot. There were things that I thought didn't, and I can bring them up now. There were a couple of things that I thought were convenient. I thought that it's a Marvel movie, so there are things that I can actually
skydive sequence where she survives everything without a parachute.
Yes, that's one. I thought it was really convenient how Black Widow falls through that sky dome thing and falls right in front of Taskmaster, which I thought was super convenient through all the chaos that was happening. Another little, it's a little thing, but it's a Marvel movie. I can live with it. I thought the thing with them living in the clouds in Cloud City was silly, but once again, it's a Marvel thing. I can get over that. I can understand that.
I was okay with it because of the helicarriers.
Yeah. I can get with that. I thought that the red dust was smart in the fact that it was a simple concept, but it was still silly regardless. But I can get behind it because the conversation that Scarlett Johansson that has with Florence Pugh, and she's like, "Hey, listen, just speak to me in English and tell me what this thing does." That was very smart. Don't try and overcomplicate something that doesn't need to be overcomplicated. It's dust that makes you. That was smart. That
was one of the things that kind of irked me. Is we got 4 Russians here in Russia and they're speaking English. So there were things in this film that weren't perfect by any stretch. These were things that I wanted to bring up a couple weeks ago, but I couldn't until you guys saw it. But yes, there are things in this film that for me didn't add up, but my overall enjoyment wasn't diminished by it. And I will echo everyone else's sentiments here. I think Florence Pugh is phenomenal. I think that she's 25. If you haven't seen her in Fighting with My Family, she plays a Paige, the wrestler from WWE. She is great in that movie. She's great in just about anything she's in. She's great in Midsommar, which is great. Her continuation in the Marvel Universe is going to be really good because it looks like that she may have a place in the Hawkeye series that's coming up, which is very cool. I think that works out. That works very, very well. Overall, I think that I think that this was Kate Shortland did a very good job in directing this film. There was enough heart in it that it worked. It was the darkest Marvel movie that I can remember. This was a movie that had very strong female characters without being overtly ridiculous about it like Captain Marvel was. This actually made sense. They felt like they were real people in some sense, and they felt like you could connect to them in another sense. And so it was a more relatable movie as far as tone and things like that. So I really enjoyed that. It worked out really well. For all of the missteps that are in this movie, I think there are less missteps there are more hits than misses in this movie, and I think it was done very well. I think Marvel should be commended, and I think that anybody complaining about this movie about being remotely, it has some kind of feminist agenda to it, I think it's ridiculous.
I have seen a lot of negative reviews.
Yeah, I think it's
kind of puzzled by what it is they were actually critiquing. Because some of the stuff they were critiquing and coming down harshly on, they didn't come down harshly on in other Marvel movies that do the same things.
Right. And
it kind of felt like whatever filter they put on to watch a regular Marvel movie, they threw off for Black Widow. It's like they held this Black Widow movie in a whole other regard.
Right. I will say
a little unfair.
I will say the way that Scarlett Johansson has been promoting the film has been a little bit suspect. I didn't like the fact that she said that that was Marvel's Me Too film, which it didn't feel like at all. I didn't understand that logic because
there was no overt that at all.
at
is
all.
exactly how a movie like this should be made. You
Right.
shouldn't hang that over anybody's head.
Exactly, and I felt bad. I felt bad for the movie that Scarlett Johansson would say that, because it doesn't feel like that at all. But
I mean, the fact that they're all women is completely incidental.
Correct, 100% correct, Gannon. I completely agree with you. I will say that the other part before I forget, I will say that the other convenient part that I thought was a bit ridiculous, but once again, I can give it a pass because it's a Marvel movie. Her cohort, her connection, the gentleman who provided her goods,
The arms dealer guy,
the arms dealer,
Rick Mason.
Right. That was a little, You know, it felt like there was some kind of there was some sexual tension or relationship that was there beforehand. And
I didn't get that.
No. You watch the first scene and you'll get it with them too.
No.
And I thought it was even Scarlett Johansson says that was the mystery part, and I kind of felt that way too about that character.
He's
but
also not in that movie enough to every time he shows up in the movie, you almost forget he was in it. I think he's in 3 scenes tops and maybe 5 minutes of screen time total.
Right. And like I said,
he's not even in it enough to really register.
Yeah, and it's convenient. I mean, he's a convenient character for sure. But once again, it's something that I can give it a pass to it.
But also, a former spy would have a contact like that. That's why I bought it.
And to be fair, I think you might be right as well. But
somebody who lived in that world would know people that can connect you up to stuff like that.
And an arms dealer would be.
And I know that because I live on Maui and work at a senior housing complex.
All right, nice.
So you know stuff. Nice.
I think one thing to keep in mind, for me, the thing that kind of stood out the most is the fact that this movie felt like it was late. And I don't mean it should have been released earlier. I mean this should have came out when Iron Man came out.
Yep.
When, you know what I mean, with that original run of movies, when everybody got their solos, that's when this should have came out.
And I agree with you 100%. I think that, I understand they were trying to fit it in this timeline that they were trying to do, but I have to admit that I think that Black Widow would have been a much more prolific character in the Avengers if we had seen this movie in 2012 or 2013.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree.
I mean, I don't see how they couldn't have made it. No one in the movie other than ScarJo is in any of the other movies.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know if you guys know this or not. Marvel was a little nervous about a movie that has only a woman in the movie.
Oh yeah, the promoter thing.
You guys know that that's what it is.
Black people and women, right? That's right. I forgot about that.
I mean, in all honesty, if Black Panther didn't pull down serious numbers, they probably wouldn't have even bothered with Black Widow.
But once again, yeah, that's a good point. But once again, Black Panther was...
That's fair and not fair at the same time.
Black Panther's just a great movie. It didn't matter if it was just a good movie regardless. It didn't matter if it was black actors or not. It was still a decent movie that told a good story. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
Granted,
but anyway,
it is the only movie of its kind to have ever... I mean, you know what I'm saying?
No, I get you.
That movie in and of itself, if you're asking me, is largely generic. But what that movie meant culturally means more to than just one single story. Well, I completely... When it comes to Black Panther, that movie means a lot more culturally than it does as a story, because the story is very generic.
Culturally...
It's almost the exact same story as Iron Man, when you really boil it down to the essentials.
I would agree with you if Wakanda was a real place. But
it is, dude.
Okay.
It is to a lot of people.
I know things.
All right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
in Africa, if you fly into them wrong, guess what you're gonna find?
Wakanda.
You're gonna find people riding rhinos with spears made out of magic.
The moment everyone has been waiting for. The man who is incredibly critical of Marvel and Marvel comics and Marvel movies. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to check in with the comic book artist extraordinaire, Todd Bernardi. Todd Bernardi, you ventured into the world of Black Widow. Have you come out unscathed?
Well, I mean, all of the reasons that you guys are saying, well, we'll give it a pass, or it didn't really affect me that much. It's like, of course you guys are going to give it a pass because you're Marvel fans.
I did. To be fair.
I mean, all of the most ridiculous things about this movie are the reasons that it wasn't really that good. And I go back, and my whole, criticism of the movie is predicated on the fact that what Phormat said, it should have came out in 2011. Like, if this movie came out in 2011, 2012, I think I would have felt a little bit like, oh, okay, well, they're kind of taking a chance here. This is going to be kind of an interesting thing, and I want to see how this is going to fold back into the next couple of Marvel movies. How is this going to, what is this going to lead to in Avengers? But I think that it sucks because for Scarlett Johansson, because they killed her in the last one, and then she got to train her replacement in this one. I mean, come on, Marvel. Like, what the hell, guys?
I mean, there's still room. There's still room to do other Black Widow movies.
But I suppose. But you could bring her back to life and Weekend at Bernie's her, or you could do a whole Loki thing.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, fine. But the movie ends where S.H.I.E.L.D. is picking her up. So there's still room for others. The
movie ends with her getting into the Quinjet and going off to save everybody in the raft, which we saw that movie.
Yes.
Right. Yes. I agree.
But the point from when they pick her up to when we see her there's a lot of room to tell other stories.
Yeah, hopefully, and maybe they'll take advantage of that. But I don't know. Maybe they will.
I actually, to be completely honest with you, to argue with you, Todd, and to take up more time from you as much as I can, I think it's actually in a funny way almost better to free her from being stuck in Avengers films to do Black Widow stories that aren't in the current content. Granted, they won't be able to get away with too many of them.
You're right. We only had 12 years to explore that before. Why would we do it now?
Because Wonder Woman came out.
Somebody came out, and Wonder Woman had some sincerity to it. They have this wonderful conversation that is punctuated by the fact that she goes, "You're not my real sister." And then she goes, "The Avengers are not your real family." And then she goes, "Why do you do that hair flip? You're such a poser." And it's like, come on, Marvel. Like, have some balls. Like, have some emotion. Have a scene with some emotion. Let them get angry at each other or something. Don't make this into a Disney cartoon. Did you
miss the point where they beat the crap out of each other?
Did you? Yeah. And by the way, did you miss the beginning where it was one of the darkest Marvel movie openings I've ever seen about what was happening to those women? Right. That was crazy. Those girls.
They didn't. But I mean, they hinted at it, but they didn't actually go into it. And the most graphic or gruesome part or detail that we got was the forced hysterectomies that they talked about in the helicopter.
Right.
And that's it. That's it. That's all we got.
Hey man, down tempo Nirvana.
Right?
Todd, I do kind of understand where you're coming from, but here's what I don't understand. Number one, I think Scarlett Johansson is pretty much she's kind of resigned herself to her fate in the world because she wants to do other projects. So she's kind of done the same way RDJ is done.
Right, so she shouldn't have been done in 2012 when this movie should have came out and should have launched her action career.
But she already had a career before that. She was doing the movie. She's been doing movies since then.
Don't you dare bring up Ghost in the Shell because that didn't go well.
The Japanese robot movie.
Ghost in the Shell was actually very good. So was the other film she's in. The one where she's the Lucy. Lucy is fantastic. So
Lucy was okay, and it was widely panned by critics. And it didn't do Marvel numbers. If Black Widow had come out in 2012 or 2011, it would have done $300 or $400 million easy.
No, but we have to be.
What else she was great in? You know what else she was great in? Home Alone 3. She was great in Home Alone 3. She was so good in Home Alone 3. So she stole the movie away from the kid that's not Macaulay Culkin.
She stole the movie. I agree with you 100%.
She stole the movie the way what's her face Pew steals it in this one.
Okay, now the way
Like also the number one thing that nobody said that I find it like really shocking that you guys haven't even brought up is that we have a Russian who's fighting other Russians who have mind control super soldiers, and we don't see a Winter Soldier. We don't see Baron Zemo. Are you kidding me?
But Baron Zemo's
Zemo,
Soviet,
yeah.
not Russian.
All right, my bad. You're right. Completely different country.
Wait, hang on.
Not to mention, there are different factions of these organizations. They're not all one thing.
You're right. You know what? We'll just take the Captain America, like Winter Soldier, Civil War, like formula, and we'll do a Black Widow movie around it.
This is between Civil War and Infinity War.
No, it's between. Yeah, you're right. There's Civil War and between Infinity War.
Right.
So
but Todd this is the Winter Soldier story all over again with Black Widow instead, though.
And where's Winter Soldier right now?
He's frozen.
Yeah, he's in Wakanda, right?
He's in Wakanda without an arm.
Right.
Right. Okay, so he can't. He's not going to show up. He's not go. The Red Room has nothing to do with like the way that the Winter Soldier program happened in the Marvel universe.
See, Todd,
that has no connective material.
You basically answer your own question, Todd. Baron Zemo's in jail, and Winter Soldier doesn't have an arm of Wakanda. That's where those guys are during Black Widow.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, fine, but like, there was about 20 minutes of that movie that happened in America. Where they were escaping to Cuba, like you couldn't have Zemo. Zemo couldn't show up in the background as one of the.
Does he need to for this story, Todd?
You're making an argument that Alika would make about a character not showing up in a movie. What is up with this?
Well, because what I'm saying is, like, first of all, like if you're gonna have leftovers reheated. You might as well have like a couple ingredients from previous, dishes.
What?
You know what? So
I don't see why that's necessary.
I agree.
I don't get why that's necessary.
I agree with Daniel in the chat. Daniel's right. Todd never disappoints.
What?
I don't know where Todd was going at that point. He was like leftovers and
Aron in the chat brings up a great point. Todd's Marvel reviews are the best thing about Marvel movies. I agree. What I don't understand is, Todd, and listen, you are very critical, which I understand. You don't. And
so
maybe
saying he just hates Marvel.
Maybe I'm wrong about this, and maybe you can correct me. Maybe Alika can shed some light on this about Todd. It doesn't seem like you give a lot of latitude to comic book movies to be what they really are, right? You know what I'm saying? They're not going to be. They're not going to be perfect representation.
First of all, you ignorant slut. They're superhero movies. They're not comic book movies. We've had this conversation.
Okay.
Second of all, why? Why do we give latitude to Marvel movies when there are people out there that are just trashing DC movies for the same little very like teensy weensy reasons?
Okay.
Like they're like, oh man, it's too dark, and like this movie's not dark.
It is.
So we're not going to talk about how dark this movie is.
Didn't we?
I
thought we did.
I
Didn't we?
talked about how dark it is. Hey,
So
Todd,
earlier,
hey, Todd, were you saying that a flaw of this Marvel movie was that it was not interconnected enough with other Marvel movies? Was that a flaw you brought up about this one?
That's what I mean. Like, I don't
Yeah,
understand.
what
Why
are
not?
you talking about?
Why not?
But and by the way, you were saying you just said that it didn't have you were saying that it didn't have the balls to be darker, but to have them be at each other's throats more often. Scarlett Johansson.
I said that the Marvel doesn't have the balls to have like an actual emotionally poignant scene between two of its characters. Not dark, not violent. These are all violent. But I mean, if you're going to be dark, I mean, we're going to say like, oh, Superman, that movie was so dark. But Black Widow, I mean,
But
nobody's going to criticize Black Widow for being dark.
You cannot hold both those characters in the exact same regard.
I was just about to say that. Thank you. Yes, 100%.
If you're to hold Superman and Spider-Man under the same scrutiny, then yes. But those are radically different kinds of characters.
I agree. I completely agree with you, Gannon. I think that is an unfair comparison. Now you can't even equate.
Why? They're both superhero movies, though. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the larger public at will say, "Oh, it's a comic book movie. It should be more comic booky. This is a superhero movie, so it's gonna have action."
But you also expect Superman to behave a certain way differently than you would expect Black Widow to.
Correct.
I mean, we would because we're familiar with the source material, but
Anybody
out
who
there
can read this familiar with Superman, and most people that have watched Marvel movies in the last 10 years know what Black Widow's like.
No, well,
they
whatever.
don't know the comics, granted, but they go purely off of what they know in cartoons and film.
I mean,
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, you guys are all like, well, you know, I thought it was a little silly that they did this. We're going to give it a pass. And you guys are, like, coming up with all these things that are just like, well, I liked it for this reason, but I didn't like it for that reason.
It's not that I didn't like it.
Isn't that how we're supposed to be doing this?
Yeah, I mean,
I think Todd's privy to a set of enjoying movie rules that we don't.
No. Overall, wait, you guys
show us the rules, bro.
Overall, you guys are like, well, but it didn't ruin I enjoyed this movie,
because
it didn't ruin it for me.
It's a stupid movie. That's why.
Yeah, and I think
you're
that's
like
kind
getting
of
so serious. You're like,
and I have to. I agree. I agree. Alika's correct. Once again, these are your.
It gets a pass because it's a Marvel movie. They talk about giving children hysterectomies, and then they joke. They use a phony Russian accent to say vodka.
Right,
okay?
right.
It's a Marvel mess. We're living in
right.
Yeah, we're
100%.
in late stage capitalistic decline, and it'll all be over soon. So, why are you bitching about this movie, Todd? You should be learning how to drill wells and sew your own clothes.
I mean, I would argue that if you had your soul beaten out of you, like these spy people are, you probably would have a sense of humor about having your privates yanked out. You probably would, just because that's all you really
that,
have.
but we don't
You
really
could be
know
dismissively flippant about it.
Right. Yeah, but if we wanted, I don't think that a Marvel movie like this is the proper venue to get into the realism of what if this actually existed. You know what I mean? I don't think that would be.
Why not?
Because it's a PG-13 movie. I don't think you want to get into that, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
but it's like if it's a PG-13 movie, then why have it be a plot point?
Don't even bring it up. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Is that
Okay.
that stuff is a little too dark to gloss over with Marvel humor. I mentioned that in my review. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And I agree with Alika. But he wouldn't let that ruin his movie watching.
She's wearing a comics accurate costume, Todd.
And there we go.
I knew it.
Once again,
that's all you need.
I think it's just a point where
I'm just gonna throw this out there.
Yes.
If I was Black Widow in the comics accurate suit, Alika would still love that movie.
Yeah. He would. He might even give it an extra star.
He would give that movie a pass, even though it's me in that suit, because the costume is accurate.
I just don't understand, Greg, why you're giving this movie a pass when you didn't say anything good about it.
What, are you kidding me? I thought it was fantastic. I thought the relationship. I think the relationship between Florence Pugh and Scarlett Johansson was great. I thought the story taking chances for a Marvel movie works in a Marvel movie sense. I thought that the action,
just Winter Soldier and Civil War over again.
I thought the action was very well done, put together for those two.
It was a little over the top, though.
This is 100%.
This is the last act from Winter Soldier and the first two acts from Civil War, recast with Russian Black Widow agents.
Okay. I don't have an issue with that because those are two very similar experiences anyway. Because we come to find out that those two organizations are between Hydra and the what happened with Black Widow and that experiment.
Is the Red Room specifically Hydra?
Matter of fact,
they're Soviet.
No.
They're Soviet, right?
Okay, so then it's got nothing to do with Hydra.
Well, what I'm saying is there's a similar story bent to it, and I understand what you have a problem with
Because
that.
Hydra is all encompassing. It's not one country.
Correct.
By the time
Correct.
we catch up to it in Winter Soldier, anyway.
Correct.
So
I
the
think
Red
that,
Room is just a holdover from covert Russian government that's still operating in secret.
Yes.
So
right.
therefore, they wouldn't be tied to anything else. They probably the Russian government might not even be aware that they're still doing it. For all they know, it's like one of those things that's just getting funded that they don't know it's still happening.
Right, and that's a possibility.
I mean, that's why they're up in the air. Like probably Russia doesn't even know they're still doing it.
We're making an argument for a similar storyline in a movie where most storylines are similar.
Todd's right. But there's not a ton of wiggle room in superhero comic book stories like this. There's not a ton of wiggle room to tell different stories. There's gonna be a lot of carryover. There's gonna be a lot of similarities. It's unavoidable. There's nothing you can really do about it. The best you can do is maybe MacGuffin's different in this movie from that movie. Maybe, the way they're going to stop the villain is different from the last one. Maybe the blue sky beam is a red sky beam in the next movie. You know what I mean? Like, there's only so many ways to slice a loaf of bread. You know what I mean?
Yep. I agree.
Which I'm not saying it to be disparaging or to say there's no originality, but, the fun is throwing an obstacle in front of your superhero and see what they do about it. That's where the fun is. Ultimately, it's all the points are going to be the same. It's just how much of a struggle you're going to make it for that hero to get to the end. That's the stuff that makes these stories good. What they got to go through to save everybody.
Okay.
So
Todd,
anyway,
Todd, I still love you.
No, I mean, I
love you, Todd.
I watched this thinking that it would be kind of an interesting movie to watch with the family, and so I'm going to watch it. The wife is going to watch it, and then we're going to talk about it. And,
I thought you all watched it together. No, is that not what happened?
There was the hysterectomy, and then the child abuse at the beginning of the movie, and I wanted to make sure, like, if that was age appropriate. And I'm not sure whether it is or not. And so
you guys keep talking about the opening child trafficking scene. Do you guys know what it looks like to take a bunch of kids to Disneyland? That's exactly it. It's not a trafficking scene. They're taking them to Disneyland.
Oh no, but you're complaining that it doesn't take enough chances, but when it does take chances, you have a problem with it. I don't understand that.
No, I don't have a problem with it for me. I think that it's fine for me. It's fine for adults. It's fine for probably most teenagers. I don't think but people that are younger than that, I'm not sure if they should be subjected to it.
I agree, but I mean, that's what I just said. It's a PG-13 movie, and I think that was implied that was the part for them to take chances with. That's exactly what I was saying. That's a chance that they took with a Marvel movie, don't you think?
I mean, I don't know. I think that they could have taken a couple of more chances within the scope of the rating that they wanted to have. And I think that they could have pulled it off. I think that it would have been a lot better movie if they had a little bit more connective material to the movies that we were familiar with. I think that if Scarlett Johansson had done this movie and then done a bunch of standalone movies after it earlier in her Marvel career, I think that would have been amazing. I think it's she's getting kind of a raw deal that they didn't have any faith in a female-led movie. She wasn't the first female-led movie. It was Captain Marvel. Now that she does get her first female movie, she gets her first standalone film. She's basically training her replacement for all future sort of Black Widow projects, especially within future Avengers stories. And so I just don't think that Marvel really handled this character very well and treated the actress very well. I think that this movie there was a severe lack of representation in this film. There was
what?
Well, I mean, all the main characters were,
Russian.
Wow.
I'm more confused now than ever.
Yeah, I am kind of too. Like, they're Russian. I don't. They're European. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Well, and then when you do get diversity in the film, they're the enemy. They're the villains. They're being mind controlled Black Widows. So they're all
the biggest villain is a white dude,
and which we never see. We don't even see that much. He gets 2 scenes. So we don't even get to see, like, we don't even know if he's really that villainous of a villain. And Marvel did the same thing with this movie. You know, you never really get a very good bad guy.
This guy is mind controlling women. He is using them for his own. I don't want to say it's a terrible, for lack of a better term, amusement. He is physically debilitating these women.
He's sending them out on missions. He's having them assassinate people.
But that was the lack of a better term. Amusement. I mean, he's doing with them as he will to make them assassins, to do things. Right. That's pretty nefarious, don't you think?
Right, but I agree with that, but we don't actually get to see that in this movie, really. I mean, we get to see it in the last scene of the movie, and that's it.
Yeah, he's the puppet master. We don't have to see the puppet master.
I don't think we need to see them being used that way, because we're seeing the effects of these people from the ones that get.
You're right. You know, with a tragedy, you know, you don't really need to see the tragedy, right?
That chick killed herself because of the guy. They fell off. They were running after her, and she ended up killing herself because of the guy, because he ordered her to do that, and she's saying, "I don't want to do this," and she shoots herself in the face. Right?
That happened once.
Yeah.
Todd,
right.
Why didn't it happen 30 times? Don't you understand?
That's what I mean. I don't understand.
It happened once to a character that was on screen for 5 seconds, and we have no emotional attachment to it.
So you want a lot of people die then? You want all the people to die?
I just want some character development. I just want some good writing.
Nothing's gonna please you.
They're under mind control, Todd. There's nothing that you can't get any deeper than the fact that they have no control over their own bodies, right?
I don't feel like you need to see them do these things. I feel like you know everything you need to know about what they're there for.
I agree.
And once they snap out of it, you see that they've been living these lives that they're not really living.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it might be horrific in the imaginations of us, but I'm not going to do Marvel's work for them by imagining, these
I'm seriously just going straight off the performances, which is not imaginary at all.
Well, there's no character development, so we can't resonate with these characters at all.
I think it's fair to say that Todd Bernardi watches Marvel movies like I watch Oktoberfest.
I mean,
except it seems like Todd has a lot less fun than I had watching Oktoberfest.
I agree. It doesn't.
If we're just hanging on the character of Black Widow, and if you want to bring up development, she's talked about having read in her ledger from Avengers. So we've known that she has these dark things that she's done, these terrible things that she's carried out from being a spy against her will, that she's been sitting with for a long time, and it's peppered throughout every appearance.
But we got to see one scene where she blew up a little girl, and that was it. And I'm not saying it wasn't an emotional scene or anything. I think that's great, but I'm sure that there's been tons of other times that's happened, and they should take the opportunity to explore that.
I don't understand why her actions as that spy are already implied. I don't think they need to be. I don't think the violence needs to be so overt so that we know what she was like. We understand she has come from this evil side. She's trying to renew herself. That's why she became part of the Avengers, because she had no family, right?
But you never get to see that from the very beginning when she's in Iron Man 2, on through all the Avengers movies, through Captain America, and now her own movie. You never get to see any of that. And why not? Why don't we get to see that?
Okay, to be fair, we didn't get to see a lot of that because, number one, this is her only standalone movie, right? So we have to take that for what it is. This is it. This is the way this is the way the Marvel Universe has already been set up. We have already said that she should have had this movie back in 2012, 2013. I think we agree with that. I think that this should have come early, but I think it is I don't think it is fair for us to really criticize this character in this respect, considering the fact that this, in all honesty, is a fairly decent Marvel movie that took a lot of chances that other Marvel movies did not.
I disagree with you. I agreed with you all the way up until the end when I disagree with you wholeheartedly. I don't think it took that many chances. I don't think it's a good movie. And I think that because you're a Marvel fan, you're just giving the movie a pass.
Okay, to be fair, I am not a Marvel fan. I have been more than critical of Marvel movies. I will say this one more time, and no one agrees with me. I think Thor Ragnarok is a terrible movie.
I didn't like it that much either, and I told you that.
I thought it was awful. But I do think that Black Widow is something very special, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that was very well done. I really think that Scarlett Johansson went out with a bang, for lack of a better term.
More of a thud.
Yeah, I thought that basically. And I think that the emotional resonance wasn't with her past actions. I think the emotional resonance was coming from her and her sister and her relationship with her quote unquote family. And I think that that's where the emotional resonance was coming from, because if all they knew was to be assassins, all the especially Florence Pugh, who did a better job than Scarlett Johansson, by the way, really expressed how much she appreciated being part of this made up family. Right?
Well, it was real to her because of how young she was.
Correct.
It's almost to the extent where maybe she didn't even understand, Black Widow, not Black Widow, but Natasha understood because she was older. The little girl had no idea. That's all she knew as a family, which is why her character, in that sense, was even more tragic, because she was participating in this elaborate thing, not realize, like in her mind, that family was real. And it all came crashing down to her, and all came crashing down in reality in one fateful night. Whereas that night was the night that Natasha was always worried was going to come one day. So they had very different experiences that night. Natasha knew one day the day was going to come. She didn't. And she didn't get her redemption story. She didn't get dug out of this assassin thing. She ended up being stuck with it while Natasha was out there doing the Avenger thing.
Right. And
and not to go in the territory that Todd's in right now, they do suggest, or they tell us, that she's aware of Natasha being an Avenger while still being indoctrinated into the Black Widow thing. So then I'm a little confused as to how much they're actually controlled, like how much free will or presence of mind that they have unto themselves. That's where I got a little confused, because when you see the rest of the Black Widows, it's almost like they're just these automatons. But she was aware of Natasha being an Avenger. So, like, how much presence of mind do they actually have? Or, like, how much illusion of free will to, like, see things and remember stuff? You know what I mean?
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Just a small question I had watching the movie, but,
Yeah, well, overall, like I said,
I have a possible answer, but every time I try to talk, I get talked over. So
what
you'll
is it,
just
Phormat?
have to find out, I guess.
What is it, Phormat?
They're spies. They're agents. They're supposed to know everything. They're taught everything. You don't think they would have been taught who the Avengers are?
No, but she has this very sarcastic kind of. Oh, but then again, that's when she gets dug out of it, though. Never mind.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I'm satisfied with that answer.
Yeah. And I think. Go ahead, Todd.
Can I rewind all of this back?
Sure.
When Todd was telling us, you guys said that you liked it for this, but you didn't like it for that.
Okay.
Isn't that what we're supposed to do in these reviews? We're not supposed to say what we liked and didn't like about a thing?
That's a good point. I agree with that.
The point that I was trying to make was that when you guys criticize a movie, you
guys?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're lumping us all together then. Gotcha.
Wow.
I'm just trying to get it the way because I don't understand a lick of what you're saying, because you then refer to us like we're one person. So go ahead, continue.
I think he's talking about me in general, but go ahead, Todd.
Oh God, this is evergreen all over again.
Go on, Todd. What do you got to say?
I'm sorry I said that. I guess I'll retract my statement, Phormat. You know what? The Marvel movie was good. I'm sorry that I said anything challenging about it. We should all just turn our critical faculties
Was that
off
so
and
hard?
not actually worry about things like story or emotion.
You know, I was taping this episode. I was going to get you deported. You don't
Deported?
If you don't like Marvel, if you don't like the MCU, then leave the country, bro. You know, there's the door. Das Vidania.
Yeah, maybe I'll go to Sokovia or Wakanda.
No, but I think what I
I
think
don't
you're
know if you
trying
know
to.
this. I don't know if you know this. Sokovia is not there anymore.
Yeah, it's true. It's gone.
No, I'm pretty sure it landed.
All right.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's not habitable still.
Todd, there are certain let's direct this at me. I think that there are certain when I say stuff like there are things that I enjoyed in this movie, and there are things that I didn't. And when I do say things like, listen, it's a Marvel movie and I'll give it a pass, it's because I have to embrace the absurdity of what happens in the Marvel universe. Because if I don't,
I think, and I'm not sure if Phormat did, but I know Gannon did it, and I know that Alika did, and then you did, and you all said either something to the effect that it's a Marvel movie or it's a comic book movie, and so all logic goes out the window. Maybe Phormat didn't, and I apologize to Phormat.
Not all logic. What we're saying is that there is you have to be able to embrace the absurd. You have to be able to embrace the suspension of disbelief.
I'm all for suspending disbelief, but like, come on. Like there's nothing, there's no substance there. Like it's a flat movie. All it is comedy and action scenes lumped together. And every time that they get a chance to actually have like an emotionally charged scene or a very deep performance from an actor, like somebody makes, we're like, well, a joke would go really good here, or we don't want to do that because we need this to be palatable to as many people as possible. You know, so we don't want to turn off.
Greg, I got it.
Okay, go ahead.
So Todd, joke's on you, because it's 12 years of Marvel movies, and you're expecting them to behave to behave the way you want them to. No, so the joke's on you.
I'm just saying the way that I understand the way that you write a good story is one way, and the way that Marvel stories are written are not that.
But again, there's been 12 years of these now, over 20-some movies.
Right.
I mean, you're clearly never going to get what you want out of a Marvel movie. So,
right.
No, I know. Well, I just I'm never. I mean, I'm
that's
demanding
not
this.
He can't like hope for better. You know what I mean?
Well, what I mean by what I'm saying is they've clearly got a tone that they're going to stick to. They've clearly got a formula they're going to stick to. And Greg is wrong when he said that they took chances. That I'll agree with Todd. They dipped their toe into taking
for chances. A Marvel movie. Come on now, you gotta admit.
But also to go back.
I think that's the problem. Is you're prefacing everything you say with "for a Marvel movie."
Could be.
Because you dip your toe into taking chances, and going back to what Alika said, there's an element of like, maybe don't do that then if you're not going to kind of pull at it a little bit more. The whole hysterectomy angle, because they joke about it, and I took it for what it was in the movie. I didn't get hung up on that at all. But if some people do, and it is something that you kind of wish, like, oh well, if you're going to get into that territory, you should explore that more. You probably
I feel that's a valid
because that moment doesn't serve the story anyway. It doesn't do anything for the rest of the story. It adds a layer to it. It gives you a little bit of what happened to them in there, but you don't really need it to get to the rest of the story. You don't really need to know that about them to understand that they've been through this system that's taken basically their livelihoods away from them.
Right.
So, but at the same time, again, even the guys that do the movies that we do like do this. James Gunn himself wouldn't allow for there to be an emotional moment in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 without throwing in a David Hasselhoff joke. It's just they have the tone that they know works. They have the formula that they know works. And until it stops working, or where they know that people are starting to, some folks are going to notice and some folks don't. Most people watch these movies don't even have half the hang-ups some of us do. They just say
Right.
it for what it is.
For sure.
Correct. Correct.
And that's exactly how these movies are designed and made and marketed. They're not necessarily making them for us. We're just doing half their job for them by doing podcasts and throwing them up online to help market them for free. You know, we're helping them out by keeping it on the
About
internet.
that, G. We should
They
be
don't have
getting
to
paid
pay
for this.
anything. So, you know,
I should definitely be getting paid to say the things that I say about
Apparently
Marvel.
so.
You know,
Well,
it's the one thing that Warner Brothers is doing that Marvel does not. Is that Warner Brothers, even though yes, they don't really seem to know what they're doing, they take chances visually. They take chances thematically. They don't know what they're doing, obviously, but they explore different tones. But they're also trying to figure out what works. They're trying to go opposite of Marvel, and that's why they're failing. Because they don't know what their audience wants. Because the DC audience isn't going to be the exact same as the Marvel audience. They
Correct.
share some people,
Right.
but those characters aren't going to work the same way that Marvel characters do. Marvel nailed it pretty quickly early on, and they're again, until that formula stops working, that's how it's going to be. They're never going to let things get too serious. They're going to kind of flirt with doing it, but they're never going to actually do it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and like I said, and this is where, you know, and maybe Todd has a point. I hate saying this.
I'm not saying
But-
Todd's wrong. But
I'm
my
not saying
point
he's
of view
wrong
is
either.
this. It's I don't know. My point of view
And
is like
we- and
you
nobody
kind of know what your Marvel movie is going to be like at this point. You're never going to get anything different than what Marvel does.
There
Well,
was
with that said, though,
Yeah.
I mean, Todd does. You know, it's okay for Todd to like expect more. You know what I mean?
Yes,
All of us should
I don't know if I
be
agree with
expecting
expect.
more.
Want? Yes, I don't know about expect.
now to
Oh,
be
okay,
fair,
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
To
That's
be
fair to
fair,
say.
though, I will say that I'm one of the guys who was incredibly disappointed with Batman v Superman, and Zack Snyder took a chance with that Batman v Superman story, and I didn't like it because it wasn't the Superman that I love. Right?
I think the biggest chance he took with that was thinking that Lex Luthor should have been basically Max Landis. I think that's the biggest chance he took in that whole movie.
I kind of agree with that as well. Richard in the chat said it's almost like perpetually moving the goalposts with the MCU. Every instance is like a need to go against everyone else enjoying something just to be contrary. Now, what's interesting though is that, and I think Gannon is points more valid in the sense that Marvel knows its formula. Marvel can only get so emotional before people tune out. So I agree with Gannon on that point. I mean, when they're talking, when there's that moment between Red Guardian and Florence Pugh's character in the bedroom, and they're talking about, you know, he's trying to make the resonant point of,
when he sings American Pie to her,
when he sings American Pie to her,
and then just when you're letting that moment soak in,
right?
They punch you with some action, like they didn't want to let that movie breathe for too long.
Right.
And that was a really good scene. That was a really good
great
emotional scene. It was not a callback I expected, and it was actually handled very well in the movie because it was set up. You kind of remember it from the beginning of the movie,
right?
And you're wondering what is the emotional breakthrough those two characters are going to make together because she's at an impasse with him. She's not trusting him. She doesn't feel like she's ever going to trust him again now that she knows everything was fake, and it's always been fake to them.
Right.
But in that moment for the two of them, even in all of that stuff that was going on in that night, he knew that meant something to her. So that was actually handled very well. That was actually a very well done scene.
100%.
It probably didn't mean anything to him because he was dialed into trying to save these people and get the hell out of Dodge. But that's not what he remembers for that night. But he knows that meant something to her.
That meant something to her.
It started off with a joke about his dad peeing on his hands.
Right,
so that he didn't get
because he was conveying a story about he wanted her to listen, so he was conveying a story
heard
about
of
him.
an icebreaker, Todd?
Yeah, thank you.
You ever heard of an icebreaker where you?
No, but what I'm saying is,
warm up to you with
what I'm saying is, you think it's a good scene, but it's doing the Marvel thing where makes a joke. They have a little bit of a heart-to-heart, maybe, but then it gets interrupted by either a joke or action.
I did say that.
And that's the point, is that you can have emotional resonance, but obviously this is a mainstream thing. They don't want to keep the audience sitting there on their toes with too much of an emotional resonance. And for some of us that can handle that, I get it. I understand what you're talking about. But with the Marvel movie,
that scene needed a little bit, just another minute or two to breathe, and that scene would have been fine.
Yeah, and I think that scene would have been completely fine.
let things get too emotional or too heavy, interrupt it.
Yeah. So I would agree with that if it didn't start off with that joke, the anecdote. Like I think that like it didn't.
But you don't start off with the emotional breakthrough. You build to it.
You build to it.
Character from the start. You build to that.
But he could have done something. He could have done something. There could have been a different callback.
You got to take into consideration that he's kind of a doofus.
Yeah, that's the other part. He's dumb. He doesn't really know.
Right.
This is a story about his father because he's trying to relate as a father to her.
Who isn't her daughter, which isn't his daughter. That's not his daughter. So he's trying something that he's not familiar with, right?
Right.
So
I mean, and what I'm saying is like those characters never really felt like they were had a familial relationship with one another.
That's the point.
Because they don't.
They don't. That's the point, Todd. That's the point. That's why they're so uncomfortable around each other. They don't get it. They're only acting the way they were told to act by the Russian government. That's kind of the point.
Well, because of that, you're affected in maybe two different ways. And the way that I was affected was, well, show me why. Show me why you guys were the perfect agents to be put under cover like that. Show me how.
I think you need a whole other movie for that.
You probably would need another like 20-minute sort of setup, and then the structure of the movie I think should have been like the undercover scene, flashbacks from the undercover scene, start off like with like right before the climax, and then see how we got into that.
I feel like their performances do all of that for you without.
I agree.
I
agree.
I felt like the movie was really, really flat, and they didn't give you any you didn't get any of that. You didn't get any backstory. You didn't get any way to resonate with these.
You didn't get that,
and neither did the characters though.
All that stuff.
And the characters didn't either. The characters don't have any emotional resonance. Remember, they were literally talking about Rachel Weisz and Scarlett Johansson, and all of them were talking about taking pictures on birthdays and holidays and how everything was set up. They didn't understand. They had no understanding.
Right. And I understand
No, she understood because, again, she was the older sister, so she knew what they were doing was fake. The only person that didn't know it was fake or didn't seem to really be aware of it was fake was the little sister.
Right.
So, they're all playing a part. Almost like in almost a weird way, they're all playing a part on her behalf.
Right.
She has to play her part. In order for her to play her part, they got to play their parts to a T. Right. So she's the only one that seems to be caught unawares of what everything actually was. So each one of them has a different ways into this weird family that they had, and it meant something different to all four of them.
Right, exactly. And here's the scariest part of this whole thing, which we're not talking about. Number one, those two girls were used as cover for them to be spies in the U.S.
They were just there for window dressing.
Not right, but here's the craziest part. The craziest part is no one is saying that they weren't just being window dressing; they were also being groomed because they were going to be used as agents.
Once they played their part, once the op was over, because that's
right.
Exactly what happened.
And they got thrown
right into the widow program.
They were being groomed.
Well, I had the feeling I got from all of that was that Natasha is already part of the widows. Like she's probably an earlier, like in an early stage of Black Widow
she's aware
training.
of it. You mean?
Yeah, right. She doesn't want to go back.
I don't think Elena was part of the program yet.
Correct.
She does draw a gun like she's done it before, like on that runway where she grabs a guy's gun. It does not look like that's the first time she's grabbed a gun. So Phormat's right. I forgot.
I agree with that. I do agree with that as well, Phormat. That does make sense. And I think her seeing Elena go through that was something that she didn't want to see or didn't want her to go through.
And it did make me kind of wonder, thinking about it the way we're talking about it now, is that her having that kind of remorseful look on her face was knowing that once it's over, it's not the family thing is over, is that this little sister of hers has to go through what she just went through.
Bingo.
That kind of colors it a little bit differently now. I didn't really think about it like that.
And I think that the director of the film did a very good job, at least for me, conveying that. And I think that for me, at least, it made it a little more palatable for what was going on in their from the past into their futures, which I thought was interesting. So Todd, ultimately, kind of to wrap this up, I do agree with you. There are issues in this movie, without a doubt. I agree with that 100%. I enjoyed this obviously much more than you did. And yes,
I enjoyed the hell out of this.
I will say that you're right. When it comes to certain movies, I do grade on a curve. Marvel movies are one of those, because if I were to look too in-depthly at a Marvel movie, I would always be disappointed. Right? I mean,
it doesn't stop you from looking at other superhero films in-depthly.
That's not true, because I thought that there were issues with DC movies, right? And there are DC movies that I think aren't given enough due credit.
You were the one that loved Fast 9, weren't you?
I love Fast 9.
See, I knew it.
Right. But we talked about it. We talked about it last week. Tomorrow War, another movie.
You know what's funny about the Fast 9 thing? Just in my desperate attempt of trying to get off of Black Widow finally.
Yeah.
Is that I never even seen it yet, but I know there's apparently a sequence where they go to space.
Yes.
And then so many people are getting like, oh my God, it's so stupid. They're going to space now. I'm like, now is when it got stupid to you?
Yeah. No, it's all stupid. It's been stupid for a long time,
For a long time, man.
Long time, dude.
When they started drifting submarines,
it was stupid from the very beginning. These guys were boosting trucks for DVD players is how this thing started off.
That's true. That's what they
That's
was.
how far back the series went. They were knocking over trucks to steal DVD players, and now
they're super spies.
Now they're
when I
super
started seeing people be like, "Oh, now they're going to space. This is getting really ridiculous." I'm like, dude, it's been ridiculous almost since minute one. You're only figuring that out now.
It's been ridiculous forever, dude. I agree.
It's like the Jason movies. Once you figure out how ridiculous they are. You don't get to be like, how's he alive again? Like, who cares?
Who cares? Cynthia in the chat says Black Widow, Black Widow. I just watched Loki finale. Let's talk about that. Well, this show's got to get done before we talk about that. So we'll talk about that next week because it just premiered. The boys do really want to watch that.
Spoiler alert, he dies.
Don't do that. Dang gummit. Is Cynthia, by the way, is she still here? Friend of the show, by the way.
No, I think she went back.
Did she go back already? Oh,
she's supposed to come back in August.
Yeah, she'll be back in August.
Hey,
I don't know if we're supposed to say that out loud, but yeah.
Oh, okay. I just knew that she was here.
Because like a Black Widow also dies. Spoilers. So I mean, we kind of we kind of know how it's going to end.
Yeah, but Loki dies all the time in these things.
That's a good point.
That's kind of his thing.
How many deaths is he in at this point?
Cynthia says she'll be back in August. Fantastic. So she revealed it herself.
So she can not see us in August. Got it.
Hey, she gets a pass. She was probably very busy.
She's a busy.
She gets a pass because she's a Marvel movie. How dare you, Craig? How dare you?
She's a Marvel movie. She gets a pass.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, listen.
If Sin was a Marvel movie, that would be one that I like.
Cynthia says she wants to do a karaoke party for sure. So,
Greg, good job saying it right, by the way.
What? Karaoke party?
Yeah, you said it correctly. Good job.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, listen, we are going to go because
your race proud.
Hey, listen, when you're as Filipino as I am, you have to. And you look the way I do, you have to. Or else no one's going to believe
Turner?
it. Easy with the real names here, buddy.
Government names.
You're the
government names getting thrown around.
Yeah, shut your mouth. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a lot of fun talking about Black Widow, regardless of what Todd Bernardi thinks.
Are we doing hard media or are we just bouncing?
No. I wanted to do hard media real quick.
Thanks for coming out tonight. Great show, guys.
Right before we do go, I did want to talk a little bit about what is coming out on hard media today, and then we'll take off. There isn't very much to go on, but Todd Bernardi, Dick Knows Fogelstein, please. What is the hard?
Where is Mr. Fogelstein from?
He's I don't know.
Drew's from Texas.
That's a good point. Anyway, what's coming out this week for hard media?
I'm going to start off with the ones that are porn titles. We got The Pianist.
The Pianist.
That's what I said. We got Snatch. We got House of Wax. We've got
Damn.
Working Girls. We've got Skin Deep.
What the hell?
Skin Deep. That's the one with John Ritter. That's a good movie.
No, that's a porn movie. We got two. We got two If by Sea.
No, that's
Ooh.
Sandra Bullock. That's definitely
How many
not porn.
cups is that?
Tremors 2 Aftershocks.
That's not a porn either.
Yeah, it totally is. There's this one called No Man's Land. That's a porn.
Whoa.
Okay, maybe that one is.
Then we got Into the Wild. As far as what some would call legitimate movies, whatever
Yes.
the hell that means.
Uh,
Almost Famous is coming out on 4K today. I think this is one of those Paramount Classic releases.
Is it the director's cut? The bootleg cut, I should say?
It doesn't say specifically, but I'm assuming it is.
Great. Bootleg cut is
Got a
fantastic.
very,
in that
I
movie.
think it's a steelbook actually. Gorgeous cover of Kate Hudson on it. I said it as a porn title earlier, but Lawrence Fishburne's Deep Cover is coming out on Criterion.
Great movie. If you've never seen Deep Cover, you must. Jeff Goldblum's in that as well, too, by the way.
And then everybody's favorite COVID movie, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Yes, good stuff. Love me some Mortal Kombat.
You know, that movie is great. You take Cole out of that movie's awesome.
I
It
agree.
is, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Other than that, that's kind of it. Everything else just seems to be reissues of stuff. I mean, they're apparently Warner's Archive Collection is putting out the complete second season of the TV show nobody watches in DC Comics, Pennyworth.
Right. I have not seen
Who the
episode-
hell is watching that? And yet it's
I
up
haven't
to,
seen
I think it's up
one
to his third
episode.
season. And I don't
Yeah, I
know
haven't
anybody watching that.
I haven't watched one episode of that, dude.
I'm
I
a
have no
Batman
idea.
fan and I don't watch that.
Yeah, I have no idea what the hell that is. It's on
I
Stars,
totally
apparently.
forgot that came out.
Right?
Not only
Right.
came out, it's still going. That's the more mind-blowing
Oh,
part.
man.
Oh, agreed. 100%.
That's basically it. Not a lot to be said for this week.
Really quick, also premiering exclusively the digital for the next couple of weeks. A Quiet Place Part 2 is currently available for purchase digitally. And if you have it, Paramount Plus is also streaming Quiet Place Part 2 right now. So
there's a fun movie coming on Netflix, I think, tomorrow night. Gunpowder Milkshake.
Fantastic.
Oh, that's right. Gunpowder Milkshake. I think you're
Yeah,
right.
that movie looks like a lot of fun. It looks like an Expendables kind of movie. But all ladies. Kicking butt.
Yeah.
kicking teams.
I'm going to tell you guys something, and not that it matters to you guys, but I have been watching a lot of Netflix. I haven't been watching Netflix at all, like for the last few. This as far as the pandemic went, it wasn't my first choice, but now I've been watching a ton of stuff on there. So, like I said, I'm
Watching a
starting
lot
to.
of skin flicks.
I've been watching a lot of movies on there. I've been watching some television shows. I'm getting back into Demon Slayer. So I watched a fantastic documentary called How to Become a Tyrant. It's actually produced and narrated by Peter Dinklage.
I am not shocked that you want to watch something called How to Become a Tyrant.
It's a documentary. It's very, very good. Also, Fear Street Part
Is
2.
it like
Hold
a
on, wait.
how-to kind of like a self-help?
Yeah, it's a
Before
self-help.
you continue,
Yeah.
do you get erections watching that show?
Shut your mouth. Fear Street Part 2, 1978 is out now, and Part 3
You
will
could
be
have
out
just stopped
this
after
Friday.
erections.
Okay, Fear Street. I think
Do you
that
get erections?
you know what Fear Street
Have you
reminds
seen
me of. I'm going to tell you what Fear Street kind of reminds me of, and Gannon's going to hate this comparison, but after I watch this trilogy, I think it's going to remind me a lot of Trick or Treat. So
Ooh.
I get that vibe. So that's me.
Slap him, Gannon.
I
Slap
tried to
him.
watch. I tried to watch the first one. I thought I don't remember her name, but the main character, the girl, the main character, in the
Matilda.
first one.
Yeah.
She's a good anchor to the show. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I really got that deep-seated feeling like, ooh, they didn't make this movie for me. I'm like too old to watch this movie because everything about it felt very young adult.
That is a
So I'm
fair.
like,
I agree with
I'm
that.
way not the audience for this movie, so like maybe that's why I'm not digging it because it's not made to my sensibilities.
I agree.
Because the first 10 minutes of it is such a blatant Scream ripoff, but not in that winking, tribute kind of a way. It's in that way of like, we don't think you guys saw Scream, so we're just going to steal every damn thing they do in Scream.
And I think that's a fair analysis because I do believe that as well. And I think that is
there was nothing homage about it the way they did.
I agree. But I think it is very true. They are taking for granted that people have seen it, and I don't think they're taking for granted that people have seen it. but the younger audience that they're gearing it towards has not. So I think you're absolutely right, and I think
what's even further insult to injury is that Marco Beltrami is the composer for this series, and he literally has no creative bone in his body because everything he does in the music, even in those scenes, is so much like Scream that I'm just did he not even realize he's plagiarizing himself, or did he just couldn't come up with anything different?
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I mean, like
I
I
know
said,
he's not John Williams, but come on now.
Maybe I'm giving it a pass, but I'm kind of enjoying it. So part 2 is out now. Part 3 will be out next this Friday. And by the way, if I may also recommend another show, there's another show on Netflix that is an anime, and you guys should check it out. It's called Trece. Is.
Yeah, I saw it. It's good.
I haven't watched all of it, but it's based in Manila.
You'll like it, being that you're a part Filipino.
Oh, fantastic.
Phormat,
Thank you.
Did he say that correctly? I don't think he did.
I think I did. 100%. I said it correctly.
Sure. Yeah, he said it correctly.
And you know, the other interesting thing is that
no, there's no way he said it correctly because the right way to say is Trece.
The reason why I'm recommending this anime is not because the story content so far is very good, but it's also directed by the guy who does a lot of the DC Comics animated movies, Jay Oliver. So if you're familiar with those, he does this series.
He was also a storyboard artist on the Justice League movie.
Oh, really?
Supposedly he was. Well,
Cool.
he worked on some of them.
Right.
Zack Snyder draws out everything, but apparently he did some.
Well, I give him props because it's good.
Yeah.
The anime series is good. It's very Tokyo Ghoul, but it's very good.
This is American produced anime then.
Yes.
Not from Japan or
Set
something.
in the Philippines.
And I like the animation because it really draws you in. Number one, I don't like the stuff like Fire Force. I was watching Fire Force. I hate that crap where they give you this detailed face and then they pull away and then there's no face at all. Like, what the frick are you guys doing? It drives me nuts.
I can't get into Fire Force. I just see Soul Eater, and I love Soul Eater so much. I can't get into Fire Force.
Yeah.
Do they eat bullet in your show?
Shut up, Todd. Shut up, Todd. That's my go-to. Shut up, Todd. Todd's my go-to.
You don't even know way more.
Shut up, Todd. Drew's from Texas. Okay, nice.
Anyway,
we're on a roll tonight.
We are on a roll. We are out of time. Todd, before we leave, any other disparaging words you like to talk about before we take off?
I don't have any. I mean, I feel like when I criticize something, I do it in the same way that you guys criticize it, but then you have a very flattering reaction to the rest of it. And when I criticize something, I'm like, well, it didn't really work for me. And, so now you're sort of like, well, you're so negative all the time. And I'm like, I'm not,
You are. When it comes to Marvel movies, we're prepared for you. That's why, Todd, because I don't think
Marvel movies are all pretty much
Todd,
1 to 2 star movies.
Let me tell you something. As ridiculous as Tomorrow War is, we enjoyed it, and so did you. And you're telling me
all of the rules of the movie made sense. It was well written. I think that there was actually some character development. The family actually did care about each other. There was a great dynamic between the father and the daughter. I mean, what's not to like about Tomorrow War?
I wanted more of a story about his dad peeing on him. That would have been nice.
On his hands. Just on his hands.
J.K. Simmons came to Chris Pratt and said, hey, remember that time that I showed you how to pee in the snow and then your hand got in the way?
Yeah.
Then the entire movie sucks.
That's a good point.
So, but with Black Widow, there was none of that. There was no character development. We saw the villain twice. The movie couldn't figure out what it wanted to be, and it just was it kind of flatlined until the climax. And
what is the correct number of times to see a villain for it to be good writing?
What is it? Well, I mean, you introduce the villain in the beginning, and you don't know that he's the villain because you haven't seen the crazy montage over the credits yet.
We can't
and then you don't see him again until the end of the movie, so you don't really know, what they're fighting. They're just fighting these minions that he's mind controlled most of the time, and there's no scale or scope to it. There's no
Well, it's pretty big scale considering it's a bit of a globe-trotting movie to a certain extent.
Yeah, Todd.
I mean, they go over all over the place, and
Budapest.
They go all over Russia. They go from one part of Russia to the other part of Russia. And they go from like
one part to the other part.
Country, sir.
Yeah.
And Budapest.
Anyway,
I agree.
Todd,
I agree, but I just don't think that I don't think that there was really anything for me to latch onto in this movie, other than like the stunts were really good, and the actors did what they could with the material. They turned in solid performances, I suppose, but you really wouldn't know that because there was really no content to the entire film.
Todd, I am sick of you disparaging misogyny against Scarlett Johansson and Florence Pugh. This movie's fantastic. I'm not going to stand for it on this show any further. And with that, sir, you're done.
Are
Anyway.
you talking like that because Cindy's watching right now?
Yes. Watching.
There's really no reason. There's really no reason to. There's no tension. There's no gravity to the movie.
Man, gosh, dang it. Dude, I don't get
I go back to my previous remarks. I'm like, I don't know why you're still expecting that in a Marvel movie.
100%.
But why are we giving an excuse to any movie?
It's not an excuse. It's just that we know what we're in for.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not saying you can't hope for them to be different. What I am saying is like you cannot expect them to be different.
But also, I don't think that we should compare it to other superhero franchises either. Like, if this is what you want, this is your bread and butter. You want something where you're going to be able to just kind of turn off your brain and not think critically about a film, not actually like have an emotional response to a piece of art. Then
that's how I felt about Birds of Prey. That's how I felt about Birds of Prey. There was zero emotional context to that.
I agree.
And I held it to the same criteria I'd hold a Marvel film to, and I had no problem with that.
I think that this movie was not quite as good as Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey had at least a little bit of backstory for,
and it had the D and the C in the thing. So
got it. Fair enough. All right. Well, listen, we have got to get out of here. Thank you, everybody, for showing. Oh, you guys disgust me. What the hell is wrong with you? Big shout out to Ron Cataguy, of course, Cynthia, and Joel, who is in the chat as well. And Joel's absolutely right. I would want to see a movie written and directed by Todd. I agree.
I mean, not if you're a Marvel fan.
We have early word on the ending of Loki season 1 final episode. Cindy's words here are, and I quote, "So Loki, that was an ending, I guess." That doesn't sound like a good tone to set.
Sounds like Skybeam to me.
Well, so no, I mean, but I Marvel comics are not that bad. Marvel stories are not that bad, and people that are fans of Marvel comics, I would never disparage those. The people, some of the most hardcore comic book fans
they're pretty terrible.
Are fans of Marvel comics. And they're also fans of other stuff too. But there are some really, really hardcore Marvel fans out there, and I want them to know that I appreciate them reading comics, and I appreciate their passion for their particular character.
Somebody's getting nervous about his bottom line at the next.
Yes, I think he is. I think you're right.
No. I don't want. I know I come off as super negative about these movies. And
so you do know,
and it's a little, it's a persona that Greg likes to sort of paint around me. I don't really, You
painted around yourself. What do you? I don't do anything.
You saved him for last on purpose, Greg. He knows exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So,
we do too.
But I just want everybody to know that, like, if I don't like the MCU, that doesn't mean I dislike any Marvel fan in particular or anything. Or I think that some people that do like these movies.
See, I'm the complete opposite. I like the Marvel movies, but I absolutely hate all the Marvel fans. All of them. I wish they'd all go away.
Yes,
put them on a spaceship and send them to the moon. I don't want to see them around.
Todd, I really wish you'd stop being a gatekeeping incel. That'd be great.
I'm not involuntarily celibate at all. I'm not celibate.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. Anyway, listen, we have got to go. It's been a real pleasure having everybody on today talk about Black Widow. I'm so glad that it's out of our systems. It's a lot of fun.
I'm not celibate either. I'm more of a masturbate.
Oh Lord!
Oh, good Lord!
That's the name of the show.
It's getting late.
A Marvel masturbate.
No, it's not. Anyway,
I mean, that's what we reduced the films to.
Hopefully, the next film we review will be, of course, we're doing Suicide Squad. But before that, a week before that, I do believe that if you guys want to, the new Dwayne Johnson movie, The Jungle Cruise, is hitting Disney Plus. So if you guys wanted to talk about that, we could.
That sounds exciting.
So
Have
if
you
you
ever
guys,
been on the Jungle Cruise ride?
it was my favorite ride when I was a kid.
That's exactly why that movie is going to be bomb for little kids that love to go on jungle cruises.
Mm-hmm. I'm very excited to see it. Luckily for me, I enjoy watching The Rock's movies. I think they're fun.
Have you seen
You know what'd be cool is if you go to watch Jungle Cruise, and in place of the movie, they play Anaconda.
Did you see that photo that Dwayne Johnson posted? I don't know if it's a still or not, but image from the Black Adam set.
Yes.
Where he has a suit on from the back and everything in front of him is just leveled.
Yes, that looks cool.
Looks pretty cool.
I've seen a few of the ones he's posted.
He also posted another photo. Apparently, he really spiked up his training regimen for this particular movie. Like he's a pretty big guy to begin with, but now he's just like ripped, like chiseled, ripped. It was crazy to see.
Yeah,
like, he got really insanely and did like a whole other kind of shape for this movie.
He said that there were certain scenes where there had to be certain aspects of his musculature that needed to look more chiseled. So in order to do that, he had to eat high protein and very little water, so that any water weight would leave his body and his muscles would look more
That's what I'm doing wrong. I have to I have to drink less water than I'll look like Dwayne Johnson.
Well, okay. First of all, water is very important. Okay,
the proof is in the pudding. Oh, also, don't eat pudding.
Like Dwayne Johnson is not important.
Oh Lord, I don't know what's going on anymore.
Just know that none of us will look as good as Dwayne Johnson. So
Speak for yourself, Mr. Filipino.
Hey,
it sounds like you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah, the closest you can get is a Dave Bautista.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. He is also Filipino. Oh, that's a good point. Maybe I have
the tallest Filipino I've seen.
See, Greg, you're genetically almost exactly like Dave Bautista, so there's no reason why you couldn't look like him too.
Exactly.
Actually, what's weird is it's like we're twins, but I'm Danny DeVito and he's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm the crap left over. So
how dare you?
You're not even Danny DeVito, though.
Huh?
You're not even Danny DeVito, though.
Oh, how dare you, sir?
You're more like one of the leftovers in the test tube that they didn't use.
What's funny is that I disparage myself, and then you disparage me even further.
Because you don't cut deep enough is why I do it.
Oh, is that why? Fair enough. I do feel awful about myself.
Short of really going too far, I'm like, no, we have to go further.
Oh, fair enough. Well, thanks, Gannon, for pushing the envelope.
Nobody takes a journey to Oz, and then when they get just before the Emerald Gates, they're just like, nah, you know what, we're good.
We're good. You're such an idiot. Anyway, we're out of time, boys and girls. I hope you guys had a wonderful time talking about Marvel, talking about the news and comics. We'll be back next week. We'll talk about more fun and exciting stuff. I probably
would have died in the forest now that I think about it. Yeah. I don't think I would have made it to the Emerald City.
Yeah, I could barely stand at this point in my life. It's strange. Anyway, for Todd Bernardi.
3, 2,
the very controversial Todd Bernardi.
1,
Phormat.
0.
Cobra Kai, and of course, the one and only Dark Knight Gannon, and of course, Alika, who's no longer with us. I am G Money. Peace out. Much love, and most surely,
rest in peace, Alika.
We'll see you next time. Aloha.